What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Caveman podcast. Tonight is a special night. I'm super excited about it. It's one of the, I will call him a founder of the Caveman Combine. He's been with us from the beginning. He is the doctor. So when shit hits the fan, he comes to our property, and everyone should have a doctor. So if anything ever happened. So we're with Dr. Dusty tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff. We're going to have some fun with it. He's actually stepped out and started a new adventure, and I'm excited to talk about it tonight. I'm excited to say I will be one of his first. How many clients you got? Well, I'll be one of your first clients. I mean, top 10, right?
Yeah, you're up
there.
Top
10. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally just starting. So
yeah, he's just starting, and we're going to talk about the benefits of going to a primary care physician. I'm probably going to butcher some of the words tonight, so I apologize. Primary care physician versus what he is doing. We're going to talk about the health industry in terms of, big pharma and doctors, and the difference between why he decided to go the direction he did versus stay. I'm going to call it the system. Is that fine?
Yeah,
stay inside the system. So
yeah.
Let's just start with what are you doing? Like what have you broke out into for those out there that might be interested in becoming a client?
I think we still call them patients.
Patient.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, patient.
Yeah.
So becoming a patient.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy. I'll say what I'm doing, but I definitely need to contrast that to where I've come from.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's the main thing. So, I've coming from, my first job out of residency was with a hospital system, a good hospital system, a local, sort of smaller, but still a system, right? There's CEO, admin, there's a lot of different, moving parts. But the main thing that it's a part of the greater system of insurance model care. Okay.
Yes.
So, when you are getting health care, the first question they ask is, who's your insurance provider? Who do you have health insurance with, right? When you're getting a job, or maybe you're hiring employees, they go, hey, do you offer health insurance, right? I mean, it's like ingrained in everything we do because it's so important, right?
I so hate them so much.
Yeah, it's awful. And so from my end, the healthcare system, sick care system, some people call it, is mandated, dictated, completely run by the insurance companies, right? Mm. So whether it's from them saying how much they're going to reimburse for things, and that gets down a whole rabbit hole of why healthcare is so expensive, right? Yeah. And I'm happy to give the short version on that, but they end up dictating prices and ends up affecting prices down the road. And then the rates that they reimburse is different for different specialties, different for if you're in the hospital versus primary care. And that reimbursement tends to lend more towards what I would call reactive medicine. So you have a illness, you need a surgery, here's what we're going to give you to fix it. We're either going to cut it out, or we're going to give you this pill it's a reaction to a problem.
Yes.
Not a proactive medicine where we're preventing a problem. And even, going through medical school, we learn about preventative medicine. And I kept hearing that term, and I kept going, when are we actually going to learn about preventing things? Because everything that they called preventative medicine was just about detecting the problem earlier, right?
Yeah.
You get preventative lung cancer screening. It's only so we can detect it earlier. We can maybe prevent it from getting worse, but we're not preventing it from happening, right? How can we prevent it from happening? And so preventative medicine in medicine there's no prevention. It's just early reactive medicine. And so, but back to the insurance companies, I mean, even from how much the system that I work for is reimbursed based off of what code I have to put in. And then at each visit now I have to do, X, Y, Z. And then tomorrow it's, now we're adding ABC to it. And so it's just more and more and more.
So what I'm hearing there, not to cut you off, but what I'm hearing is cost and customers. So in business, cost, right? If I have high cost, then prices go up. And I'm also hearing sick people equal customers. right? So
Yes.
in business, like there's a part of me that just goes, all right, so cost goes up, price goes up, but also the interesting thing about healthcare is for every person that I heal, I lose a customer. Which is interesting, right? I mean,
it's very true. But you said very two distinct terms there. So when you come to me, you're a patient.
Yes.
When you to your insurance company, you are a customer.
You're a customer.
Yes.
Correct.
And that's probably as simply put as we can put it.
Yeah.
That's how I would define that. And so the trickle down effect, I mean, pick a direction we can go, but I'll speak more, from my end of what that looks like for me. And this isn't the case with maybe other specialties or other people that might have a private practice, but for me, working for a hospital system that takes insurance, that that's how money comes into that office that I'm at. If I see a patient, like lay eyes on a patient, and I put a certain code in a computer and hit click, money comes in. Everything else we do is not money coming in; it's money going out, or salaries we have to pay, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, the majority of, and this gets a little historical, but it's very hard for a private practice, primary care, to be profitable. Okay, because as premiums go up and people pay more for insurance, the reimbursements go down. Okay, and reimbursements to the provider go down. Well, then what do you do if your cost basis is shrunk? To make money, you have to now produce more product, right? And so now you as the patient are the product. And so now I have to see more patients, right? So more patients is less time, less care, just to maintain profitability. So within my system, I work at, currently at the main office. That's the only primary care office within the system that I work for that is profitable.
How many customers do you see a day? Patients, sorry.
I see patients, yeah. Once again, it's not, I corrected you on that. It's not completely wrong. That's kind of the point,
customers
right?
and patients.
Yeah.
Right?
And maybe I'm seeing customers at my current job and I want to see patients, right?
I did that on purpose.
Yeah. Very well done,
course,
sir. Very well done.
Hey, I'm a podcaster. That's what I do.
Very stupid. So just in general, in our small town, a population of whatever, 5,000 patients is how many patients I take care of.
5,000.
Yeah. I'll see around 8,000 or 8,500 visits in a year.
Good gracious.
And that's about, on average, 30 to 35 a day.
And realistically, I'm going to ask you two questions before I jump backwards. Realistically, how much, if you were going to really diagnose someone's health condition and try to give them information to help them become healthier, how long would you need with that patient? And I know that's subjective and
it is
variable,
but I would. My whole point is that it's a lifelong process.
Yeah.
It starts with you got to meet the patient where they're at, and then some people need a little more time.
Do you
than
get
others.
enough time with them in the system?
No, I mean, dude,
it's
15 minutes.
Sorry, that was
man.
a lead. I was leading the question.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a great lead in. So 15 minutes. So that's why you go to the doctor, and I know you're younger, generally healthy. You probably, if you're going to the doctor, it's because you cut something or broke something.
Years,
yeah.
Or I just call you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, let me look at my call log. How many? The question is how many phone calls to me are a doctor question versus, hey, do you want to hang out?
Yes. At this point, I feel obligated to pay him his first $2,500.
Long overdue. Yeah. Long overdue.
Interest is collecting.
So even if it's just a annual physical, right? And we're just getting routine lab work. You're otherwise sick, or healthy. Sorry, no sickness, no major things going on. We're not refilling medicines. 15 minutes is still pretty tight, right? For us to, how many questions can you accumulate in a year, right? Well, think about,
I talk fast.
And most of my patients are 65 and older. They have multiple comorbidities, chronic diseases on 10, 20, sometimes medications. 15 minutes. I mean, even if you did 15 minutes every 3 months, it's just not near enough medicine or not enough time. And my other thing is, like, I use the example, and this is like probably the best example I can give of, I'll see a patient and maybe I'm seeing them for the second or third time or something. And I'm saying, hey, your labs last time were a little off. I want to check this certain lab. It's going to tell me if you have diabetes or not. Well, I check it and the A1C is through the roof. Okay.
Okay. Well, A1C.
Just for diabetes or not.
Okay,
so they have like raging, uncontrolled diabetes and they didn't even realize it. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even realize it. I just, noticed the number was off and I go, oh my God. Okay. What are we going to do about it? Well, I look at the clock. I've already been in there for 6 minutes, right? 7 minutes. So now I've got to tell you, hey, first off, you got diabetes. Here's how we measure it. Here's what your number was. Here's what diabetes is. Here's what's caused it. Here's the foods that you're eating that are making it worse. Here's the foods that you got to eat to make it better. Here's what your exercise program needs to be. Here's what insulin is. Here's where to inject it. Here's how often to inject it. Here's how to not do too much so you don't get killed. Okay?
Yeah. It's like you just handed me an entire list of workouts I'm supposed to go do, but you didn't explain any of them.
Well, like literally, and like I'm gonna prescribe you a
But you
medicine.
have to maintain profitability and be able to do that. You have to see 30 customers a day.
30 customers a day.
So that's the point. Like
35,
you are subjected to maintaining profitability for the system, because if the system's not profitable,
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and so I hear this all the time from my patients, and they go, "Hey, we're so glad we found you. Right? You actually listen to us, and you take time, right?
Yeah.
And I found myself being less able to do that. The busier I get, the less able I am to do that. But I also, to be able to do that, I found myself every patient's room I was going in, I would be going in with the knowledge I've got to get in here and out of here in 15 minutes without doing a bad job of caring for this patient or making them feel like I'm doing a bad job.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was either having to not do excellent medicine, or I would have to be behind, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm hours and hours behind.
And so it makes sense not to beat up on doctors inside the system. It makes sense. It's much easier to prescribe a pill than to actually come up with a true solution.
And that's an excellent point, because I hear that all the time. And they go, oh, my old doctor didn't take time. And I go, hey, I'm not blaming your old doctor.
No.
This is not a knock on doctors at all.
Yeah.
Because I don't know their moral character. I don't know what they're feeling. I don't know. Maybe they love giving medicines out. Sure. I don't know. But even if they do feel like me and don't want to do that, I found myself leaning more and more towards that. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was eating me up. So I don't ever blame the other doctors.
Yeah.
It is the system that we're in, and they have to maintain profitability. They have to get a paycheck to, repay student
a business
loans.
has to be profitable. A business not profitable, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, right? Or they're going to get fired, right? Or they're not going to get a paycheck, right? You get paid to see patients, right? And so
And you'll have a few bills when you get out of school, right?
yeah, like I don't know. There are some people that are $500,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks, oh, doctors make a lot of money, dude. Time invested and the energy invested and the life and the sacrifice you have to make, and then to be up to $500,000 in debt, it's the worst financial decision anyone could ever make. It's terrible. So I have medical students that are people that are in high school, like, oh, I want to think about being a doctor. I'm like, I will tell you every reason not to be one first. I'll tell you every reason not to. If you still want to be one after, then great, go ahead. So
yeah, it's a calling on some people. Like I genuinely feel like in our group, like you have a desire to see people be healthy. Like, I mean, I see that in you. Like, I mean, it's you can see that within you, that calling within you. It's like you want to help people be happy, generally help them to be healthier. All right, I want to talk about one thing before we get into what you're doing now, because I think this is important. One logical fallacy that I always have a problem with is the idea of trust the professional. Right? It's trust the professional. You don't have an opinion because the professional says this. The problem with that, and I think it shows itself most clearly in the medical field, is that if the education is bad from the top, then how do you? And all the professionals are being trained the same way, and it's flawed. It's a flawed way of thinking. How do you come up out of that, right? And so, when did you go from noticing the flaws in the way the education was going? Like, when was that a moment for you? Because it obviously had to happen.
Yeah, probably in a few stages. definitely in medical school. You know, you get into medical school and you think, hey, I've achieved something that's really, really great. I've reached the pinnacle of education. You know, and I came from a background where my mom was like a health food nut. I mean, we were trying all sorts of different
Your mom's
stuff.
in great shape for her age, man.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I don't look this good because of my dad. I can tell you that.
I concur.
Enough. Sorry, Mom. So, but I always would come from this background of a pursuit of health, right? And so, and she wasn't always right. And that was the great thing about my mom. We realized like, hey, maybe doing like all these super high, you know, green juices or buying this new fad thing was not right.
Yeah.
But I knew a decent amount of health, and I knew, and I've seen it in myself and in you know, my family, that when you eat poorly, you feel poor, right? And when you eat well, you can be well. And I recognized from an early age that, you know, if I ate a whole pizza and drank a pitcher of beer, my stomach would hurt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, right?
That's not good.
It's not good, right? Okay. You know, so it's, or like if I would go and I would be drinking a higher amount of alcohol, like my skin would break out, right? And so, and I would realize these things are correlated, right? So it's pretty common sense. Well, I went to medical school thinking that I was going to get the pinnacle of education, especially in the nutrition world and how these things were correlated. And that's not what I got.
The food pyramid didn't throw a flag up.
So they literally, and I tell this, and I've told you this before, in medical school, I got 2 hours of nutrition where I learned the old food pyramid, not the one that RFK just released, right? The absolute terrible food pyramid.
Cheerios, lower cholesterol.
And I was going, what the hell are we talking about here? And I would like raise my hand, like, are we sure about this? You know? And so there were several times I was just like, man, this is just wrong. It's just wrong.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it was furthermore, there was a study, a meta-analysis of basically they take a lot of different, they looked at like thousands of different medical studies and, you know, evidence-based medical studies. And they found that 90% of these thousands of medical studies that they looked at, 90% were non-reproducible, meaning that if you took the exact same study and you did it the exact same way, you could not reproduce the exact same results, or even within a margin of error.
Yeah.
So 90%, dude. And here we are. When you're in medical school, it's like, well, why do we put people on a cholesterol lowering medicine? Well, you look at this study, right? Or why we think cholesterol is bad, right? It's from the Framingham study of the 50s and 60s, right? It's like you're walking around with your attending in residency, and they're going, well, what study shows this? And we're always going back to these what should be these peer-reviewed, double-blind, you know, placebo, evidence-based studies. 90% aren't true. Okay.
Yeah.
So the question is, who's paying for the studies? Who's paying for medical schools? Who's paying for the literature that goes to medical schools?
If I had to guess, it's probably the people selling the pills. Would that be correct?
And I can go way deep into the evidence.
I know
of
you
that.
get other.
Just trust me. Just trust me.
Yeah, we'll trust you on that one.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. Is I went to medical school, and medical school is pattern recognition, so symptom recognition, knowing what studies or labs to order to prove your suspicion, and what treatment plan, medication to get.
So medical school is set up, again, to your point, no blame on the doctors here. It's set up for the insurance companies and those that are producing the products for you to sell.
It's medical school is for the pharmaceutical companies. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And a very simple.
Yeah.
All right. So when did you decide, all right, I can't do this anymore. I want to break free from this, and I'm going to go do what you're doing now. And I, as a patient, customer patient, why would I stop going into the system and go, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to come over to Dr. Dusty and I'm going to start doing what services do I get there versus that?
Yeah. So first off, COVID was a major breaking point in my brain because I realized, holy moly, that's a whole different hour podcast. But then, you know, I was in this job and it was comfortable enough for me to stay, but it was all these things we just talked about. Like they just kept slowly getting worse. And I felt like I could maybe make them better or make this kind of situation work. I'm hopefully doing the best, you know, care that I can give to people. But it was that 30 to 35 times a day, feeling every single time, rush in, rush out.
Yeah.
And there was no light at the end of the tunnel. And I kept going, I can't continue this. Right. I mean, I knew if I continued that, I wouldn't be doing medicine for very long. I'd be calling you for a job again. You know? And I would go have a totally different, industry that I'd be in, because I knew it wasn't sustainable. So, what was it 4 years ago now at Caveman, met Nate, Dr. Hartgrove, and had talked to him about this idea of concierge medicine or this different style of medicine that I'll tell you about.
The man who never wears shoes.
No shoes, and until recently, very hairy, very, very hairy.
I know.
So, and just awesome guy, by the way. So, talking to him and realizing that there was a different style, and I'd kind of heard about this style of medicine, and it was always in the back of my mind, but like actually seeing it play out and it be attainable, hear about how I could maybe transition to something like this, and just talking with him and becoming better friends with him and walking through that. It finally, I just hit a snapping point. I was like, I got to do this now. Because it was always like, well, I'll wait till I get more settled, or, our fourth son's on the way and now's not the right time, or, we're just selling our house.
You can always find a reason.
Not the right time. Yeah. You can always find a reason. And so I was just putting it off, and I said, enough's enough. And so, end up, I'm making the switch. So what is it, right? So some people call it concierge medicine. There's an alternative that's sort of like direct primary care. Some people call it VIP medicine. It's a lot of same words for the same thing, essentially. Yeah. The idea is, in the old system, the insurance companies dictate everything that we do as providers and everything that you do as a patient, right? Customer. They're in with everything, right? They have their hands in everything. Yep. Literally,
they decide everything.
Every little decision.
Yeah.
And then even if I want to do something, they'll just say, "Oh no," or I prescribe a medicine to you and go, "Okay, well, no, we're not going to cover that one. We want you to take this one." Right. So it's just a nightmare. And so the common denominator is that it's these insurance companies that are involved in everything. Yeah. So how do you get rid of them? Is you just design a practice where you don't take insurance. And I know that sounds simple, and some people think it sounds kind of crazy, but so the idea is that. And there's different people that this model is really good for, but the idea is, for me, from a provider, I don't accept insurance. The patient still keeps insurance. The insurance can pay for labs, can pay for your medications.
So I would still want to keep my insurance.
To some degree. Okay. So the insurance that you would want versus a 65 or 75-year-old patient of mine, totally different types of insurance. And I'll get into that in a second. But you still have some sort of insurance. Or maybe for you, not. And you're not going to pay for medicines. We do a cash price for labs, which is dirt cheap.
I was about to say, I bet that's incredibly cheap comparative to what.
Versus what your insurance company is paying the lab, because the insurance company bills higher. So anyways, that's why there's always a cash price major discount, like 5 or 10% of what the actual cost is. So let's run the example of like a 65 or 75-year-old patient. They would still keep insurance. It'd pay for their medicines. It'd pay for labs. It would pay for, they'd go see a cardiologist or any other specialist. They need to go to have physical therapy. God forbid they have to go to the hospital and be hospitalized. Insurance still covers everything. Yep. Okay. What I do inside my four walls is covered not by their insurance company, but an annual fee. Okay. And that is their routine, kind of primary care, general primary care physician stuff. That's preventative stuff that I lean into more so than, someone else would. So how do we prevent you from being old and sick, right?
Yep.
And then it's urgent care stuff. So if you do get acutely sick or hurt or whatever, instead of you having to go to the urgent care, or you try to call your primary care, hopefully they're open. Hopefully they have a slot available sometime soon. You get me on the phone, right? Same day, talking to me, sending me a picture of the rash, or is my arm broken or not, right? I mean, whatever the question is, and you get an answer quickly. And so the idea,
I had that rash on my upper inner thigh, and you immediately responded to my picture I sent you. It was so nice of you.
I had to zoom in. I had to zoom way in.
Zooming in.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. you got a different diagnosis.
That's other problems. Like,
So the idea is not only do you go from being one of 5,000 customers to one of 400 patients, so I cap at 400, you get more time. And so instead of that 15-minute appointment, maybe twice a year, you get hour and a half appointments. And if you need longer, you get longer, right?
Yeah.
And then instead of going through and trying to, hopefully you can get an appointment sometime soon, or what happens most of the time is your primary care physician's not available, and then you have to go to an urgent care. And then you get a bill from urgent care, you're going to meet your deductible very quickly, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what most people, they have this out-of-pocket deductible, which is, it's crazy, right? They pay all this money for insurance, and then they still have to pay for the health care because they hadn't met their deductible yet. So,
bro,
it's just a giant scam.
My son swallowed a crayon, right, at Cracker Barrel. I'll never forget this. Like at 2, I'm looking over, he's playing with the crayon, writing with the crayon, and then the crayon's gone. My wife panics. We go to an urgent care, and they send me a bill of $1,700 to just go in there and them go, oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
That's all they did.
Yeah.
They looked, they checked, and said he's fine, and I got a bill for $1,700. And I was like, what? For what?
Yep.
I was like, but it was out of fear and panic, and boom, there it was.
And that's actually what happens most of the time. How many times have you called me with an issue and I go,
it's
let's
fine.
let's give it like 2 days. Let's not worry about it. Right. And that's the answer most of the time, but you don't know that.
No.
You don't know what's worth worrying about. And especially your 2-year-old.
I've learned a lot
sure
over the years though. Like I've got better.
Yeah. And so I think that's what most of urgent care visits is. It's like, I think you're going to be fine. Or maybe, hey, we'll give you
And that's what they told me for
antibiotic.
$1,700.
Yeah. $1,700. And so it's ludicrous, man. It's absolutely insane that we're charging people this amount of money when most of the time they don't need it. And so that's why American healthcare costs so much money.
But as an employee, so the hospital has to make money, right? Mm-hmm. You're an employee of the hospital. You're only making so much money of every billing, right? So therefore, they have to fund you too.
And they have to fund upstairs.
And they have to fund upstairs.
They got to fund it all the way to the top.
We call it in business the SG&A cost, right? Your sales and general administration cost. Yep. So they have all that cost they have to fund. So you have all this extra fluff cost, and all I really want to do is talk to the doctor.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to the doctor. That's
hospital systems are heavy on the GA. I mean, the admin, it is top heavy every single time.
Yeah.
So I think there was some other study, I'd have to find it, but I think it's less than 50% of the dollars go to the doctor and the actual staff in the office.
Yep. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
I think it's like 45% or something like that.
Yeah. So it sounds a lot like education.
It's just absurd, man.
Yeah, it's absurd.
And so it's just crazy.
And so the other perk of that is not only now am I keeping my insurance, but now I'm also getting with you, which now we get to talk about how do I become healthier so that I can potentially get off of the medicines that I'm on
and prevent that
from being the problem.
And that was going to be the other thing I was going to say is the lab panel that I'm able to order in my new office in this concierge medicine model. I'm ordering labs that my other lab couldn't have even processed. Even if they could, they sure as heck wouldn't have let your insurance company pay
Extrapolate
for
on that. What do you mean? Give me like.
Oh, so you go to the primary care physician. You're getting at your age. I think you're under 40 still. You about to turn 40?
Way under 40.
Yeah. 39. So
turn 40 this year.
So if you did an annual physical this year, you're getting a CBC and a CMP. That's a blood cell count and a metabolic panel. Very basic stuff.
Do you still have to hold my?
No, that's old.
That's old. Okay, we don't have to do that
anymore. If you're going to a doctor that's doing
I was worried about that. If I came to you, I was like, I don't really want you to do that.
You
thing,
should.
So.
Yeah, if anybody's
that's
offering
gonna be awkward.
Let me know. That's
they're doing it for other reasons.
Outdated. Yeah.
So they're wanting to put me under the knife. You know what I'm saying?
But under 40, you're getting a CBC and a CMP. Very basic labs. If you're over 40, we add a cholesterol panel to that. And I say cholesterol panel, I mean the very basics, like of the lipid panel that's like total cholesterol, LDL, HDL, triglycerides. The panel that I'm ordering at my new facility, my new office, I mean, it's 10x, it's 20x. It's super in-depth labs.
Yeah.
And I also have to be cautious with that too, because in one sense, labs are just numbers on a screen, right? You got to look at the whole patient. But to get more data and to go, hey, what are we worried about? What are we not worried about?
Right.
Are we looking at the deeper dive on the cholesterol, like, hey, your cholesterol is a little high, borderline, but let's look actually at the actual particle size. Let's look at the lipoproteins, like the little a, little b, all these
So
kind
it's
of things.
truly preventative medicine.
Truly.
These could be things that are coming up.
Yeah.
Let's nip those in the butt so that they don't become a factor in your life.
And like, labs looking at overall inflammation and going, hey, this is showing that for whatever reason your body's a little bit inflamed. Like, now we need to go investigate and say, what's causing that, right? Things that would have never shown up on the other panel you can kind of like early detection signs of inflammation, which disease is just inflammation of different places anyway. So just far, far more in depth than you'd get anywhere else. So
okay. All right.
That's kind of the general rundown. I mean, and the whole point is it's personalized, right? It's 1 of 400 versus 1 of 5,000.
And it's $2,500 a year.
$2,500 a year.
That's,
so if I can prevent, 1.5 urgent care visits, if I can prevent 1 emergency room visit like every 3 years, it pays for itself.
Yeah, you're saving incredible amounts of money.
Yeah.
On top of actually learning how to get healthier.
Yeah. And the way I've described it too is I don't know that I could find somebody that I go, hey, this is a necessity, right? You have to go to a practice like this. It's not. I mean, I think you could be fine like going somewhere else, right? It would benefit everybody.
Yeah.
Like it would be of benefit. And
well, how many people truly leave the doctor, if you're honest with yourself, and you go, I know more about my body. I know more about where I am, because everybody's different, right? The things that you've done, what you've consumed, your metabolic situation, like however you want to frame it, like everybody's different. Mm-hmm. I bet you 95 or above don't have a clue about their body percentage wise in terms of after all the doctor visits. They don't know what's going on in their body. I mean, I don't know, because I don't go to the doctor.
Yeah.
I may have something going on in my body right now that I'm totally unaware of that I could be preventative to, which I don't know. That's why I'm coming to you very soon.
Yeah. And I think once you said very astutely that it's different for everybody, right? I mean, that's kind of my job as a provider, as a doctor, is I got to figure out what you do need, right? Mm-hmm. I got to meet you where you are. Like, let's see what's going on. Where are some gaps that we can fill? And it's different for everybody, right? Yeah. I mean, and I mean, you put on a lot of different hats as a doctor anyways. I mean, the term physician comes from teacher. So a lot of times it's more just like kind of educational, like, hey, here's how you can be healthier, or hey, here's what's going on. Here's why it's going on. Here's why we're doing this. So there's a lot of times you're a teacher, but I mean, dude, a lot of times I'm a cheerleader, right? I'm saying, hey, you know how to do it. Let's go do it, right? I mean, you get out there and go do it. You know what you're doing. I've you either knew it already, or I've taught you now. You just need the determination to go do it. Dude, I'm a marriage counselor sometimes. I mean, I'm a priest, at times, like very underqualified for that side of things. But like, you got to meet the patient where they're at. And you have no idea when you're walking into the room. And then how can you know where you need to be in a 15-minute span?
And I think a lot of people have bought into the lie that this is unaffordable for me.
Yeah.
Right. They bought that lie. And that's a lie the system has spun really well, because they want you to think it's unaffordable. Right. They want you to think, no, just do the insurance thing. Just do this path. Like, this is the affordable path.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, it's not unaffordable. Mm-hmm. It's actually very affordable.
Yeah.
Right. In the way.
Once again, it could be profitable, actually.
Yeah.
If you were preventing certain things from happening, or I mean, put a number on preventing you from having a heart attack in 10 years, right?
You can't do it.
You can't do it, right? So
if I can even gain 5 more, like, what's 5 to 10 extra years of life worth to me?
Exactly.
Like, what's the value on that?
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of people don't even think that way. Like,
right.
If I'm actually getting to sit down with you for an hour and a half and we're coming up with a real game plan of where I'm at as a patient, like what my body's doing, and here are the things that I need to be doing to add 5 to 10 years to my life. I'm not going to get that at a primary physician at inside the system. They're not going to help me with that.
Even if they wanted to, they couldn't.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You're right. Again, doctors, not to blame the doctors. It's just the way the system's set up.
Exactly.
Right. So let's talk about root causes. All right. I got my handy dandy questions here, because I wanted to touch on some things that I think are very interesting, that I think what you're doing now, concierge medicine, we'll call it that for the sake of conversation.
Yeah.
That I think you're able to touch on, whereas you're not going to get this from the way the system's set up right now. But like, one of the things I think that men, when it comes to men health, it's kind of the common things that you see inside of men's health is men as they turn really 40. Dang it. I'm almost there. You start to see low energy, right? You start to see weight gain, and you start to see some brain fog, and it just starts to become part of your life. What are some of the primary root causes in that kind of stuff, rather than, hey, I'm going to give you these pills, or I'm going to give you this kind of stuff to try to
it sounds
help.
like you need Adderall, I guess.
Yeah. Or,
easy, dude.
Yeah, I need 3 energy drinks a day.
It's very easy.
Right.
I'll get you a script.
Yeah, get you a script ready to go.
You're fine. Yeah. I think it's a great question. I think that a lot of people do struggle with that. My response to that will kind of be the same. I tell people this: you could name a symptom, right? That is a common set of symptoms that people, around our age will start to experience. But you name the symptom, we can go back to kind of the basics, right? The root cause.
That 2-hour class you took in medical school.
Yeah, it taught me everything. But I could almost identify the same root causes for a whole host of symptoms, because how inflammation presents in your body could present with brain fog and fatigue and maybe a little bit of weight gain. Inflammation in my body, maybe I start to break out, in acne again, or my sinuses get stopped up, or my gut hurts, and so people's genetics or metabolism or whatever it is, right? It's just different for different people. And you got to always go back to the root cause stuff. So I do see that as probably my favorite patient is the 45-year-old guy that hadn't been to the doctor since a pediatrician. And he's like, yeah, my wife made me come in, like had to get some labs, or whatever. And then that's the problem, is that we start doing stuff.
Yeah.
You go to the doctor to find what's wrong with you, right? And so we start finding things that are wrong with people. And I'm like, man, I wish, we could have gotten ahead of this, or like, hey, you got to hit it hard now. So, in 10 more years, this isn't actually a problem. But no, I think the pillars that I would say of root cause of name the symptom is nutrition. First and foremost, nutrition. So you quite literally are what you eat. Okay.
We're going to get into that because there's a lot of different things.
We should get into all these. Yeah. So nutrition, I can call it exercise. You can call it movement, whatever you want. Sleep. So how are you sleeping? How well are you sleeping? I would say next thing would probably be stress levels. So external stress levels. Some of those you can't avoid, right? Sure. But how do we mitigate those? This is my favorite one. Outside of your immediate family, what's your community? That's a big one. You want to talk about a question that hits home to some guys our age? That hits home. Where are you at spiritually? What do you believe in? There's studies that show believing in anything, right? Believing in anything spiritually shows better medical outcomes. Wow. Which is fascinating.
Yeah. In a material world, everything's material, right? Like, why is that the case?
If we only knew.
If we only knew.
I wish I knew the answers. And then my final thing is what I love this is goals. What are your goals? What are your medical goals? What are your life goals? What are your short-term goals, long-term goals?
But you could sum that up in a word called hope.
Yeah, you could.
Kind of some hope in certain areas.
Yeah. What are you striving for? Yeah. And what happens when you don't attain them, So, but I think I named those probably in order, right? I think nutrition is probably number one. So I'm happy to, if you
let's start there. Like when you say nutrition, right? There's 10,000 diets that you can prescribe to, right? I'm going to do the all vegan diet, or I'm going to do the all meat diet, or I'm going to do the Daniel fast, or I'm going to do the juice fast, and then I'm going to do it only for 3 days. Then I'm going to do 20 days. Then I'm going to cut this, right? We're in the world now of information. And what I always tell people is, in a world of information, the problem is what information do I digest, right? It's just because there's more information doesn't make it easier. Sometimes it makes it harder. Yeah. Right. And so in that world of information, a man, our age that are generally going to be watching this podcast, like, what are the things that you've seen medically or statistically that you've seen that have led to a greater outcome?
Yeah. Kind of to summarize what you just said, I can make an argument that the health food section in a grocery store has some of the unhealthiest food in it. Information almost overload, and things trying to tell you that they're great and they're not really. And so where's the truth is kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah. Health food.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just buy that then.
Yeah, exactly. If it's packaged and it looks kind of crunchy and granola, right? It should be healthy, right?
Yeah.
Got a
It's
cool
almost like
looking package.
marketing's lying. Are you telling me that?
And that's the grocery store is the greatest marketing campaign that has ever been the wool's been pulled over the American population's eyes. So I'll take a step back as far as nutrition. I told you, I came from this background of my mom was making me eat some just crazy stuff. Like, I mean, we were doing like some bizarre, and it was basically, I could break my arm and my mom would go, well, if you would have eaten more green leafy vegetables,
She was
you'd have
that
been fine.
mom.
Yeah. I mean, just really, and just trying all sorts of stuff. So I'd already, had some experience with different things, but, when I knew I was going to medical school, and so while I was in medical school and residency, I was hungry for that answer. Okay. And I took the approach of, if I'm going to be telling people how to be healthy, I need to know how to be healthy myself. Right. And then what I later realized is that physicians have a higher rate of obesity than the average American population.
Insane, man.
How fat is the average American?
Yeah.
Your average physician is fatter than he is.
See, I feel like if I walked into a physician and he was fat, I'd be like, I think I'm going to leave now. I mean, right? It's like, it's wild.
I had a patient that there was a certain physician that was trying to push a vegan diet on the patient. She was like, I just don't think that's right. And I go, do you think that Dr. So-and-so should be given dietary advice to anybody? No, I don't.
Just so everyone knows, here at the Caveman, we don't believe in body shaming, so we are all about. Sorry.
And you got to say it nice, especially when I'm talking to patients. But like, I'm like, hey, you're not fat. I mean, I can't say, hey, you're fat. But I mean, if you came in, like, and I know you, or like some of these patients that I have a rapport with, I go, hey, dude, you've gained 20 pounds since I seen you last. What happened? Like I'm all about, you got to be blunt with people and you got to tell them the truth.
If the bro had a 100 batting average when he played his baseball career, I'm not going to him for hitting lessons.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, it's pretty simple.
You don't go to a marriage counselor that's on their fifth marriage.
Their fifth marriage.
Yeah.
That's right. Like,
and so that's, I always said, what are we doing as the healthcare industry when we're not healthy ourselves? It makes no sense. So I went on this journey of,
well, it does make sense if health is not the goal. I can't drop my mic because it's attached to me, but keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So I wanted to know what was a good diet, right? And what was great for me, right? And I knew probably what's great for me isn't probably exactly what everyone needs to be on. Like, there's not one diet that's perfect for everybody. I'll just say that. So I was eating what I'd call a standard American diet, which is, eating fast food, here and there, rarely cooking at home, not really watching what I would eat, would drink alcohol, like maybe some beer or whiskey or something like that. And not in crazy excess, but, just like what a standard, standard American diet, which standard American diet is SAD, SAD, sad.
Oh, sad.
Yeah.
I love the acronyms.
Got him. So I would go from a standard American diet, and then I just pick a diet. And so I think I did Mediterranean the first time. I would check my labs before I'd go on the diet. I'd go on the diet from anywhere from I told myself 4 to 6 months. I ended up doing carnivore for about 9 months or a year. But then I would check my labs after. Okay. And then I would go back to a standard American diet for a few months, and then I would do the same process over and over again. So I did this with Mediterranean diet. I did keto. I did low calorie. I did vegan vegetarian. I did carnivore. And I want to say I did like an Atkins or something, some other diet. I forget.
Can't believe you would set a hypothesis, then run through it, and then come up with a conclusion like that. Just sounds like too much science involved.
It's too much science. But what I should have done is trusted the science that has already been there. Is what I should have done, right?
Yes, yes.
That's what we were told to do, at least. Which, by the way, makes no sense at all. Don't get me started. I'm getting red. I'm getting.
I know. I'm sorry. I keep squirreling you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So anyways, I checked my labs before and after, and here's what I found: is that my labs improved, and I felt better on every single one of those diets. Okay. Why? It wasn't about what I was eating as much as what I was not eating.
Oh wow, yeah.
What I was removing. Okay. I was removing toxins like alcohol and other things. All of those diets are a low. All those diets are low in processed foods, low in processed carbohydrates, almost basically zero, and most of them zero added sugars.
Yeah.
It's all of those diets. I was eating plants and fruits and vegetables, things that came out of the ground, or animals that ate something that came out of the ground. I was eating whole foods in all of those diets. Okay, so it wasn't so much what you're eating, but what you're not eating. Okay. All the junk that I had removed is why I felt better. And so what I'd found is that there are some, like when it comes to food, there are some black and whites. Okay. So there are some do's and some absolute don'ts. There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of kind of questionable stuff in there. And that's different for different people. Right.
Yeah.
Like for example, males thrive more towards carnivore, and my whole point about when I say carnivore, I mean true carnivore. Okay, so like nose to tail, meat organs and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and that's the other thing is like, what does Mediterranean mean? Okay, well, American Mediterranean means almost no red meat. Okay, right? It's like chicken and fish, and then plants and fruits and vegetables. Have you ever been over to Mediterranean?
I was about to say Greeks don't eat that way.
They eat more red meat than anywhere in the planet, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like, what do these terms actually mean? And that's a whole different ballgame. But I would make my point, males probably need more protein, right? And if you're wanting to put on muscle mass, you need protein with maybe some little bit of
testosterone drives our body. Women, estrogen drives the body.
And they have a higher percentage of body fat too, right? So the body fat and estrogen correlate, and they need probably less, meat. Now, I think they still need meat, absolutely, but they can lean more towards like the vegan, vegetarian side, and probably thrive more. That's why you see more females are vegan and vegetarian, because this is my whole point about vegan and vegetarian, and I'm against it. And my main reason is because, first off, there's never been a civilization in the history of civilizations, however long you believe we've been here.
Yeah.
There's never been a civilization that's thrived or has been vegan and vegetarian. It only started happening once supplementation was invented.
Oh, that makes sense.
So when you can supplement iron and B vitamins, you can now be a vegan and vegetarian, because you can take a pill and be okay.
That's good.
Now, there's been many, many civilizations that have been carnivore and they've thrived.
Just straight carnivore. Yeah.
And so
but to your point, they were nose to tail carnivore.
Nose to tail carnivore.
Yeah,
yes.
because the nutrition was in the organs and the things.
The essential vitamins and minerals are in like liver and things like that.
Yeah.
So the other thing you find in vegan and vegetarian is, especially the females, they feel great, right? They start it the same way I did, right? I felt better on it. It's because they went from a sad standard American diet. They went vegan and they go, oh my gosh, I feel great. I've cured this issue. Vegan and vegetarian is the way. And they probably have a little bit of like ethical from the animal standpoint, and it becomes a religion. They're fanatical about it. Man. They're just crazy.
But it's mainly they had such a bad diet, and it's the things they're removing. Yeah. So of course they're going to feel better.
And they feel better. They feel better until about year 7 to 9, and then they all develop autoimmune disease. The body starts attacking themselves.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
And I say all of them.
Yeah, most
not
of them.
quote.
Yeah.
I mean,
somebody's out there right now. Yes. Going, yeah, mine has it.
Yeah. but it's a
Calm
very
down.
high
Calm
rate,
down.
very unbelievably high rate.
So
of
why is
autoimmune
that? What?
disease.
Because they're missing what?
They're missing, I mean, B vitamins and iron and all these
Yeah,
different
all the things that come
trace
from-
minerals
yeah.
and nutrients that
And the supplement is never going to be as potent or as good as
Yeah.
the real thing.
and they all, I say all, most of them have osteoporosis and this bone decay.
Mm-hmm.
They have no muscle mass, so their bones start carrying a weight. Their bones start getting weak and
Yeah.
brittle. I mean, it's an unbelievably high rate of poor outcomes with that.
Yeah.
And so, long story short is I say all this to say when it comes to nutrition and what I'm recommending to people is let's talk about what to eliminate first. And it is toxins, and that gets a whole different ball game. But alcohols and then environmental toxins and things like that. And that's another hour podcast sometime. But food wise, artificial sugar is number one. And I got a funny story about artificial sugar I need to come back to in a second. Artificial sugar is number one, has to be absolute zero. It's the worst thing on the planet that you can put in your body.
Okay, so what is artificial sugar? So it's
Yeah.
obviously not honey.
Yeah.
Is it cane sugar?
Organic cane sugar, no.
Good,
And
okay.
even like white processed is not even artificial sugar. It's still not great for you. It's still
Okay.
not good for you at
Yeah,
all. It has no benefit. But even there's alcohol, artificial or replacement sugars. Natural alcohol sugars are like xylitol and monk fruits, things like that.
Yeah.
But yes, honey's king when it comes to sweetener, and then like organic cane sugar would be lower down on the list, and then those other kind of alcohol sugars would be down there. After that, artificial sugars are going to be like aspartames in your sweetened loaves, your sucralose. Like there's 100 names for them, and that's the problem with them. They're sneaky. Okay.
Yeah.
So anything that's diet, anything that says zero on it, I'd be very skeptical of.
Anything that says zero sugar.
If it says zero sugar
And it's sweet.
tastes sweet, artificial sugar.
Stay away from it.
Yeah. And the problem is your body, that's a man-made chemical. That's never been in humans as long as humans have been here until the last, 30, 40, 50 years. Our genetics, our metabolisms, our cells do not recognize that from an evolutionary, however long you believe evolution, right? Or just how we were created. That was not a thing, right? So it's been added. It's a man-made chemical. It's a toxin, and it confuses your body. Your body thinks there's something sweet. It tries to attack that sugar. There's no sugar to attack. Then it's attacking your baseline sugar.
I always wondered why the
All over the
fattest
place.
people I ran into were always people
Diet
that
Coke.
ate Diet Coke and cottage cheese. They were always the fattest people. I was like, that diet's not working for you. I was like,
There's an infamous Donald Trump quote about that. Or Donald Trump, I think it's a tweet back like before he even ran for president, was like, I've never seen a skinny person drinking Diet Coke. And it's true.
ever.
And here's the thing, those people, I can have a conversation with all these patients. I can go through the list of everything to do, like exercise, how to eat right.
It's the one thing they can't give
They
up.
can't do it. They go, I was with you until you said I had to give up Diet Coke, and that's something I can't do.
I mean, is it just is so addictive?
It's so addictive. There's a study on rats that prove that artificial sugar is more addictive than street drugs.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's crazy. So here, I'll just go tell you I'll get back to the other things we got to avoid. We just had our guys ski trip, right?
Yeah, which I didn't.
Right, you weren't there.
I heard you were very disappointed in me.
I was.
I know. I'm sorry.
You'll be at the next one.
We hadn't had a chance
If
to
you're
talk that out.
handcuffed
I deeply
and
apologize.
blindfolded and gagged, you'll be the next one. So we're riding back, and I was with Philip and Dustin Nichols and Ryan, and we're talking about like health stuff, and I was telling this exact spiel that I just gave you about artificial sugars, and I told him, I said, I haven't had an artificial sugar in probably 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Not intentionally. Maybe if someone made some like sweet tea or something that I accidentally drank. But never have intentionally had an artificial sugar, and I've actively gone to try to avoid them. Well, we were talking about this. I'm trying this other thing out on me from a medical sense with nicotine, right?
Yep.
So I've been using knickknacks, which are they're sweetened with xylitol. It's one of those natural alcohol sugars. So not bad, basically. Well, I wanted to try a different brand out of Tucker Carlson's Alp pouches, and I saw an ad, hey, sweetened with xylitol. And I go, okay, great, I'll try this. So I'm trying them, and I'm like, these things are incredible. Like they taste great. The flavors lasting forever. I'm just feeling amazing on them. Well, then all these symptoms start to pop up. So I started doing jujitsu. Well, I'm out there. I couldn't even get like my heart going and get into the rhythm. I had the worst headache of my entire life. Like so bad, I was trying to call my wife to come pick me up after being on the jiu-jitsu mat for 20 minutes. I was trying to call her, and I had my phone backwards. That's how much I couldn't see. And my head was...
Where was I?
Like blowing up.
I would love to have been there for that.
If you would have been there, I would have told you to take me to the emergency room. That's how bad my head was hurting.
Wow.
I was feeling weird emotional stuff. Like I was having more anxiety than I've ever felt. I was having I was getting like down on myself about this new job change. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I look at those damn pouches, and it's got sucralose in them. So I've been having sucralose, artificial sugar in my mouth for multiple times during the day. And I stopped them. Totally fine. Back to normal.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But again, if you're always on it, you don't know it.
You don't know.
You don't know it.
It's an excellent point. When you are so sick, you cannot be in tune with your body. You can't hear your body talking to you when everything's been talking to you forever, right?
Wow.
When you're healthy, mostly healthy, and something goes wrong, it feels terrible because it's telling you, and you are in tune with your body. You can know, hey, something's not right with this. Something's going on. But you have to be a healthy person. You have to be low inflammation to be able to have that, because if everything's inflamed, you can't hear anything.
You don't know. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
To your point, I want to continue on this because I want to ask you another question, but I'm going to hold off on it because I want you to. All right, so artificial sweeteners.
Yes, the things to avoid. Artificial sugars are absolute no. It needs to be zero. Processed sugars and added sugars to anything should be greatly reduced, okay? So that would
Stevia's, like the drinks, Zevia drinks.
Zevia's. Okay, I think those have stevia in it. That's why they call it.
Is that good?
That's another alcohol sugar. Fine in moderation.
Fine, but
fine in moderation. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like added sugars would be, really think any processed food. But think about, artificial sugars are a Diet Coke. Added sugar is a regular Coke.
Okay. Got it.
And so anything in a box of bag.
You're better off drinking a Coke than a Diet Coke.
100%, and I can make that case day in and day out. I could prove that easily. Yeah.
All right. So artificial sweeteners, artificial sugars, stay away from them totally.
Yes.
Other sugars outside of honey and
monk fruit, xylitol, organic cane sugar. Like I say, if you need a little bit of sugar in your coffee, get a little bit, tiny little pinch of organic cane sugar. That's
if
fine.
I'm down in a workout, like if I'm in the middle of a workout, I'll take like a spoonful of honey, and dude, it like jacks my workout up.
Literally, let's go back to my mom. When I ran track in high school, that's what I would literally have.
You'd be like making the turn. She'd be like, spoonful of honey.
I have that honey bear, little thing. And before I would run, I would take a shot of honey.
I love it.
And I'm a state champion.
State champ. Let's go, baby. That was the trick. The honey bear. Man, what a great nickname. Honey bear. Go honey bear.
I was the honey bear. Yeah. But yeah, it's a great shot. And that doesn't mess with your blood sugar, so totally fine. So then the next biggest thing outside of artificial sugars, added processed sugars, this is the sneaky one, and this is where most people fail, is processed carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are on a spectrum. There are processed simple carbohydrates that turn to sugar by the time it hits your stomach. Your saliva has already turned it to sugar. By the time it hits your stomach, carbohydrates turn to sugar, turn to glucose in your body. Okay, so that's how it. Glucose, dietary fat, and protein are basically the things you can eat, but carbohydrates turn to sugar, and the whole point is how fast does it turn to sugar in your body. Simple processed carbohydrates like milled grains are immediate, so you get this sharp spike in your blood sugar when you eat like breads.
I was about to say, is that in every bread that we consume from the grocery store?
From the grocery store, yes.
There's no bread that's probably...
Homemade sourdough and rye are fine.
That's about it.
White wheat sourdough from the grocery store is not sourdough.
Garbage.
Yeah. So every other bread, like keto bread,
garbage.
It's all terrible. Now, I can make the argument that maybe milled grains from not America, so from Europe.
Yeah, just
Totally
go to Europe
different.
to the bakeries where they actually still mill their grains, and you
Totally
get great
different thing.
breads. And
Every milled grain from America is a genetically modified organism, a GMO.
yeah, because you go back to the Bible, like there's a reason why Jesus said, "I'm the bread of life."
Yes.
Like they ate bread,
Yes.
and they had so much minerals and vitamins in it. You could live on bread,
Yeah.
like quite literally.
And now we tried to reinvent bread and make it better, and change the grains, and we now try to fortify it with all this other crap.
Or make it be able to sit on a grocery store shelf for
Exactly.
4, 5, 6, 7 weeks.
If somebody makes a fresh sourdough,
It's like 2 days,
you
isn't
got
it?
2 days.
2 days, and it's
done.
It's done.
That's bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the grain itself, correct me if I'm wrong, like you can put the grain up for 20 years until you mill it.
Totally fine.
Yeah, and it lasts forever. They
If
have
you store it right, yeah.
I think they have found grain from like Egypt, and it's still good, stored up, and they mill it and you can still eat it.
Probably,
But as soon as it's milled, it's like you got 2 days.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just opening up the capsule
Yeah,
on it.
yeah. So stay away from bread in the grocery store.
American bread, that if it's not homemade sourdough or rye, you need to stay away from it as much as you can. You know, and once again, it's not zero, but breads, cereals, pasta, tortillas.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch? It's not good.
But you say Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and somebody might hear this and go, okay, well, yeah, Cheerios are fine. Cheerios are just as bad, okay?
They lower cholesterol.
It's literally just as bad. That it's a milled powdery grain that is sugar in your stomach. It's just crazy how we're lied
If
to.
in my world I slap something like lowers cholesterol on something like Cheerios, I would get sued tomorrow. How does that work?
out of your rear end.
How do they get away with that?
They've got a little asterisk on it now.
Oh, okay. They had to put that on there, right?
Yeah, Cheerios used to say will help lower cholesterol or will lower cholesterol, and now it says asterisk may help lower cholesterol.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
spoiler alert, it raises
does
it.
not.
It actively raises it.
It does
Yeah.
not.
It raises your bad cholesterol. So yeah, breads.
What's funny is like Cheerios will lower cholesterol, but hey, don't eat the whole egg.
Oh yeah,
Like you go, don't eat the whole egg because
So
that's
bad.
bad for your cholesterol. It's like what?
It's so backwards. I hope like RFK is trying his best to fix some stuff. And
Yeah.
most of the stuff he's really going in a good direction. He's going to have roadblocks wherever, but hopefully it goes in the right direction. I think it more so goes in the right direction because the culture's shifting. Right?
Yeah.
We're sitting here talking about this.
Yeah. Well,
And-
we know like it's like people are figuring it out,
Yeah.
right?
And
Big pharma, big food, all that.
And that's the whole point. That's why, in 10 years, there's going to be so many of these concierge medicine or primary care or direct primary care physicians is because people are waking up. People are realizing, hey, my parents or my grandparents, they went to the doctor, they got put on more medicines, and they got sicker. And they didn't live, right? Their last 10 years weren't even alive, and they were on all these medicines.
And our great grandparents ate full lard, butter, sausage every morning, biscuits out the wazoo, and they're like in their garden at 88 years old, like tilling.
With the testosterone about 1,500 probably.
Yeah.
Just,
and it's
just
like,
rocking and rolling.
what? Like, what changed, right? Like, at some point, you got to look at that and go, what changed?
Yeah.
And you're talking about it.
We're talking about it, yeah.
You're talking about it.
The food and drug industry changed.
We had to create foods that could that we could ship from California to Georgia, and they could sit on it in a truck and on a shelf long enough to make profit on those foods.
Yeah.
So our foods got further away from us, right? We weren't buying bread from the guy down the street. We weren't getting dairy milk from the guy across the street.
Yeah.
It was these big plants now had to be able to process it. What do you got to do? We got to add stuff to it, and you got to strip things out of it. Yeah. So our bread gets all this stuff stripped out of it so it can last longer on the shelves. And, here we go.
And then you have a problem because bad food makes people sicker. And then we have a fix with more medicines.
Well, you may have a problem, or you might have a great business plan.
I'd like to think that I don't think it was orchestrated maybe to that level.
Yeah.
And I could be a little naive on that.
Well, Daniel's not here tonight, so we got a chance to get past it.
But I think it was a they took advantage of their situation.
Sure. Amen. So to your point, the most evil of it all is it's orchestrated. Mm-hmm. The most positive in it is this is what we've caused, so let's make money off of it. All right. Because they didn't fix it by no means. They didn't go, hey, look, this bread is not good. We need to go back to local bakeries. We need to stop doing this, right?
Yes, and I think on a local level, like we're talking about, the primary care doctor that whoever goes to, they believe because they've been taught that they're doing good, right? They're identifying problems and they have a solution, right? And so I think if it is like let's talk about corruption, it's there for sure. I'm convinced of that, but I do believe it's on a much higher level. Like the fraudulent studies, the people telling people how to teach people at medical school, that kind of stuff.
For sure.
So
all right, sugars, simple carbohydrates.
Yeah, artificial sugars, added sugars, processed carbohydrates. Processed carbohydrates are the main thing. Once again, carbohydrates are on a spectrum. There's carbohydrates in fruits and vegetables and rice and like potatoes, sweet potatoes, all that kind of stuff. That's complex. That takes a long time to turn into sugar. Not a problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Now some people, like maybe you have diabetes or something like that. Maybe you don't handle white potatoes as well. But that's getting down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
On the other end of that is the breads, pasta, cereals, tortillas, crackers, fried foods, right? Milled kind of grains. So that's the sneaky stuff that that most people struggle with on a day-to-day basis.
What about healthy pastas?
Yeah, same thing. Where you get your grains from.
Okay.
And there's also pasta alternatives where it's not from wheat. You can do like lentil pastas.
Lentil pastas,
that
from
kind of
beans
stuff. And legumes and things like that. But yeah, go to Italy and eat all the pasta you want. Sure.
I know, right, man?
Yeah. Drink all the wine you want.
It was such a good year down there. I was eating all the pizza and all the pasta, and I wasn't
gain
gaining any weight.
You felt
gained
great.
no weight.
You
It was
energy.
crazy.
You probably gained muscle mass, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I didn't work out a whole lot. But
could have gained.
Could have gained muscle
Asterisk,
mass.
may help gain.
May help gain with any form of working out.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think...
And if you just eliminated those two...
Oh,
you're way ahead of the curve.
Way ahead of the curve. Most guys our age, I tell them just quit drinking a soda every single day. They could drop 15 pounds immediately, dude. It's like literally one thing. You could just do it. So I'm talking about small changes. That's my whole thing that I tell everybody, no matter what it is of the nutrition, exercise, whatever it is. I'm not talking about cannonball into the deep end, okay?
Yeah.
Right. If I put
chicken and broccoli every day.
Right. Or you got to go join a CrossFit gym, or you've got to, do whatever for your sleep, or change jobs because it's too stressful for you. No. If I put you on the perfect diet, exercise program, sleep schedule, totally removed all stress and toxins from your life, put you in the most clean house and environment, you had the best forms of community, best spiritual health, had all these goals.
You're pretty much explaining me.
Right? Yeah. So I don't change anything about you. But if I did that for someone, let's use the example of somebody that's very sick, and I put them in that environment and they did that for 1 week and went back, who cares?
Doesn't matter. Yep.
It does not matter.
Yep.
Time is the exponential side of that formula, right? That's you got to do, even if it's small little changes and you're constantly tweaking, but you have to do something, make changes that you're going to do every single day over a course of a long period of time over your life. That's how you stay healthy. Yeah. We're not talking about ever reverting back to drinking diet sodas, right?
Yeah.
You got to wake up and every day choose not to drink a diet soda.
In a world where we have been taught not to be disciplined, you're saying we must be disciplined, which is hard for people in a world that have been taught not to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You know what I see most commonly in working age males? It's not the knowledge, right? I could teach you. We just did it in however many minutes, right? I could teach you what to avoid. And actually, in working age males, it's not so much the discipline. I guess you could sort of say it's the discipline, but it's not the determination. They want to be healthy. They know what to do. They felt like if certain things changed, they could. It's logistics.
Yeah.
It is their day to day.
Yeah, because the world's working. The world's working against you. Like you leave your workplace to go eat anywhere.
Yes.
It's all around you. There's what are your? I mean, you almost have to pack your food. You almost have to prep it.
But even then, it's hard to even find the good stuff or afford it or whatever it is, right? And so it's out to get you, and you have to go out of your way to to know what to get, to take the time to go get it, to afford the good medicines, to make healthy choices, to cook your food at home, to pack it for the next day, to actually take your food. When you're riding in the truck with a bunch of guys and they're saying, let's go to, Zaxby's, you go, no, I got my Tupperware right here that my wife packed for me, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Or it's hey, the kids got a ball tournament this weekend and you're got to eat concession stand food because you didn't pack a cooler, right? And I see that all the time. It's the logistics of it.
Yeah.
It's hard. And that's the one thing I go, I can't help you with that, brother. Like, I mean, you got to figure that out on your own. Like, I'm happy to walk through and maybe it's meal planning. Maybe it's just making.
You didn't eat my hot dogs last week. I noticed that at the Cape Kids.
I snuck in there and ate one before.
Okay, you got in there. Just didn't let the kids do it, but you got in there.
I got in there. Yeah. As soon as whoever dropped that tray off, it
was like,
I think 2 went missing.
And to your point, like when those guys get in there, that Zaxby's, it's almost like they've created those smells and created that stuff that's very like the pheromones are like, oh, I gotta have that Zaxby's.
It's addicting, but it's also the culture. Hey, my buddies are doing that. I don't want to be an outsider. Right? Yeah. All my other guys are going to go do this. I better go do it. Hey, all the guys are going to have a drink after work. I got to go do that. Now it turns to 3. So.
But you're saying you're better off fasting till you get home than eating that crap.
Fasting's so powerful, man.
Yeah. We're gonna get to that. Don't jump on that train yet.
Yeah, we can.
So all right. Next avoidance. Is there another one you're like?
There's a couple others.
I would say they drop off.
They drop off.
Like those are your 2 major ones. And
like
from there, there's some drop offs.
The other thing I would say that's on a spectrum is dairy. That's one thing that confuses
all right,
people.
let's go on to the next subject.
No, you won't. You'll be fine with anything I say.
Okay. All right.
Dairy confuses people.
Yeah.
Because when I say dairy,
I'm a big dairy guy.
When I say dairy, I mean milk from a cow, or milk from a cow that's been turned into butter or cheese, or basically, or if you're having cheese, it's a block of organic, grass-fed, organic cheese, right? Raw. Yeah. What I don't mean when I say dairy is Kraft singles or any sort of Kraft anything. If it's the shredded Kraft cheese, people see a bag of Kraft shredded cheese, they think that's cheese. It's not cheese. It's like a small percentage cheese. More plastic than it is cheese. Yeah. More seed oils than it is cheese.
That's crazy. I want to get on that topic when you get through this too, the oil topic. But keep going. Because cooking oil is a big topic.
That's another one that I would say to avoid. That's the next one. So, what I don't mean is coffee creamer alternatives like your soy milk or your almond milk.
Don't even call it milk. Don't call it milk. Don't put almond. There's no such thing as almond milk.
How do you milk an almond?
How do you milk an almond?
How do you milk an oat? Right. How do you do it? Is you add a bunch of seed oils to it and you do the process and extrapolate some sort of something. I don't know, but it's disgusting.
One of my favorite things to do. I'm so selfish in this moment. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
To my kids is when I go to my dairy farm milk guy where I get my raw milk.
Yeah.
That first top swig is got that thickness to it, the heaviness, and I'm just like, every time I get home, my kids are like, the top half of the milk is out, and I'm like, I was like, I couldn't help myself. I wanted that cream on the top.
Yeah, it's the best stuff. It's the heaviest,
so
thickest.
Good.
Yeah, I mean that's heavy cream.
So good.
So I don't mean all the like the flavored crap, right? I mean milk from a cow or milk from a cow that's been turned into something else and not have anything added to it.
But that's whole milk. That's so fattening. What?
Yeah.
I need the skim milk.
Yeah. Now that's a different thing about raw milk, pasteurized. Not going to talk about that. We'll punt
oils.
that down the road.
Let's get to oils because oils I think oils are a big one because people cook with them and they don't think about them.
Yeah.
And they've been told these oils are good oils. Like cook with these oils.
Absolutely. Oil is oil. I don't know how to.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Oil.
Nobody out there understands that.
Oil. So your seed oils are the bad stuff, but basically, if you're gonna cook in something, okay, you want to cook in butter, and people are gonna go, "This sounds like backwards." It's not. You cook in butter. You cook in tallow. And then the 2 oils that you would use would be avocado oil or olive oil, as long as you're not burning them on a very high temperature. Like
I was about to say, the good thing about tallow is that it has a high temp rate. So
Yeah,
you
it's
can
a smoke point,
yeah,
or
you
the
can
burn point,
yeah,
what they
the
call
burn
it.
point's really high versus butter,
Yeah.
where it burns a lot faster on you. But tallow, you can literally turn that thing up to high and
Yes.
put your steak on it and you're ready to roll.
And so that's in essence the whole point. So these seed oils, they have a lower, much lower smoke point than avocado and olive oil. What happens when those seed oils burn, when any oil burns, it releases a thing called linoleic acid, and it's a bad deal. It's not only is it super inflammatory in your body, it stays in your body for a very long time. The half-life of linoleic acid is like 7 years. So basically any that you're exposed to now, half of it will be gone in 7 years, and then another half will be gone in 7 years.
So to your point, time is the key. Back to your thing, like being healthy, disciplined over seasons.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing none of the fast food restaurants cook in seed oil.
So and I think they're trying to change this, but so yeah, if you go out to eat, I think there's like 2 restaurants in
I'm guessing seed oil's the cheapest.
Yes. it's motor oil is what it is.
Yeah.
It's byproducts of them, the farming industry and things like that. That's why they invented it. So yeah, I think there's like 2 restaurants in where where we're from that cook not in seed oils.
God.
Everywhere else you go, even like a healthy restaurant, anywhere else you go, is cooking in seed oils, especially the fast food. They're cooking in the worst ones, right?
All right, let's go. Here we go. Let's do the big one.
Yeah.
I'm a dad. Everybody's a dad. Chick-fil-A. What are they cooking in?
Canola oil.
Canola oil.
It's canola oil, and I think maybe something they do in peanut oil or something. But anyways, terrible for you. It's a seed oil, you know, and they cook it in that not because it's healthy. I mean, they get this like healthy wrap.
Yeah, they get the healthy fast food. If you got an option, take your kids, take them to Chick-fil-A.
Have you seen the ingredients list on just their breaded fried chicken sandwich? It's absurd. It's like 40, 50.
It's not just long. Chicken and bread.
It's astonishing, and when you can't pronounce half the things on there, it's very scary.
Wow.
But yeah, canola oil is a bad one. And so it's part of those seed oils. But yeah, it releases this linoleic acid that stays in your system for a very long time, and it causes damage to everywhere that it is, like even on a cellular level. And somewhere where it really does damage is the inside of your coronary arteries, your heart arteries.
So what's interesting about this with our children, right? I've thought about this. I've talked to Rachel about this. The most interesting thing is this is all really a new experiment. Like last 20 years, right? I mean, like 20, 30 years. I mean, would you say like the whole like movement towards cheaper oils and the way things are processed?
Okay.
When did that start?
A little bit longer than that, but yes, probably
90s?
Like no, it was probably like 60s.
Okay.
Like the 50s and 60s is when the Framingham study came out, and all these things like pushed to a low fat diet, and vilified cholesterol and all this kind of stuff. So we're probably, but we're still early on it, right? Because that's when it started. And now when did it really ramp up? Okay, yes, it ramped up in the last, however many 20, 30, 40 years. It's a totally new experiment. Well, but I think we're already seeing the early stages of it, right? I mean, look around, name the disease. Has incidence rate gone down or up in the last 100 years? Every one of them is up.
And tallow is a freaking byproduct. Why is it so expensive?
It's just not a lot of it, and they were.
But it didn't used to be expensive.
They were probably throwing it away because no one was wanting it anymore because they vilified it. They said it was bad for you. So
because it used to be cheap, like you used to be able to get it for nothing.
But here's the scam too. I'll call out Steak and Shake. Steak and Shake came out with when RFK came in. They said, all right, well we're cooking our fries in beef tallow. I don't know if you've seen that advertisement.
I haven't.
They're talking about that. Fries cooked in beef tallow. Well, you go. Awesome. Let's go try those fries. I was excited about it.
Did you try them?
I was going to. Well, then my wife looks up, are they really cooked in beef tallow?
She ruined it all.
They're pre-cooked in seed oils at the factory, and then they warm them up in beef tallow at the restaurant. They're pre-cooked.
Why would you do
seed
that?
Oils.
What's the point?
It's marketing. They know that this is the shift. Like people are moving towards that, and I think they got called out on it. I think they're trying to change it. So I mean, good on them if they actually do that. But that's the scam, right?
Yeah.
That's how we're saving money. That's how people are getting sicker.
That's crazy. All right, we're going to talk about two things. I said I was going to go back to something. I can't remember what it was. I said I'm going to ask you about that, but I can't remember what that was because
I can't remember either.
There's two other things that I think are big, and I'm going to touch the biggest one first because I think a lot of men, I know Philip would be one to talk. Like we've had this discussion inside of our group, but TRT, right? It's the thing to do now, right? It's what are your thoughts surrounding TRT? I know you're probably going to say that's on a spectrum too, but my biggest thing is I think we've been talking about why TRT is a thing now, right? To your point, our grandfathers in their garden at 80 probably had 1,500 testosterone.
They did.
Due to the fact of the things that they used to eat, and it wasn't damaging their testosterone rates in their body.
Yeah.
First, what's your thoughts on it? And second, time is, to your point, that's the number one thing. It might take a long time. You're not going to start something and then see your testosterone raise in a month, right?
Yeah.
That's not how that's going to work. Do you think there's damage that's happened that may force someone into TRT because, we've damaged the body so bad that maybe we can't get back to that?
Yeah.
Or is there a process that we could go to try to get back to that? When would TRT be something you should do, not do? What's your thoughts surrounding TRT?
Yeah, I think that's sort of a sad topic, to be honest.
Yeah.
And because of knowing where we came from, of multiple generations above us having such high, and the question is why. Okay, so and we've talked about it a little bit. Yes, like the food and drug, the food we're eating, the drugs we're taking. And we've talked about ways to kind of mitigate that. And yes, that those same things that I just talked about would absolutely help raise your natural testosterone production. But the testosterone is so multifactorial that even my answer for this is not a great one. And I say sad because there's a lot of stuff we can't do about. And the main thing is there are so many in today's world endocrine and metabolic hormone disruptors in our environment that we can't get away from it. It's impossible to make it zero.
Yeah.
And whether that's from the glyphosate that we're spraying on foods,
So even your vegetables,
even your vegetables, and them being genetically modified, the water supply, especially where we live, is like bottom 5% in the country. Obviously, the food that we're eating, the drugs that we're taking, the materials that we build homes with, okay, the high rate of mold that we have in our homes, things. I mean, the list is a mile long, but like things like receipt paper. Okay, receipt paper has a chemical on it, and don't ask me what the name of the chemical, but that. It's been proven that when you touch the receipt paper, it absorbs through your fingers, and it's a absolute havoc on your hormones.
receipt paper?
Receipt paper.
I'm glad I don't get receipts. I get in trouble for that all the time, but I don't get receipts a lot.
Yeah. And so
crazy.
that's my point. Is it's literally, I mean,
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. I mean, the list is a mile long. If you would go crazy trying to avoid all those things.
Yeah.
And we're not going to move from here, right? Our water supply is our water supply, and we can grow our own food, and so we can sort of.
You would
mitigate.
immediately say get a water purifier.
Yes,
as
that's
fast
like
as possible.
one of the first things that I would do. Is especially around here.
Berkey, not advertising, but Berkey.
Berkeys are great. They had an issue with their filter, and like I don't know if it's like a patent or something, but it's like you have to get replacement filters that they say aren't quite as good now. I don't know.
What's the new brand? What am I doing?
We use AquaTrue.
AquaTrue.
Yeah, and they have like a sit on the counter, like kind of you got to fill it up here and there, but then they also have ones that go under the sink. So,
Okay.
But yeah, like buying a very
and that's getting heavy metals and stuff out of your water.
Literally
right?
everything.
Okay.
The AquaTrue is crazy. They'll pour like a Diet Coke in the back of it, and it'll filter out literally everything, and it'll just be water left in there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's wild.
They're pulling out all sorts of stuff. Like getting an air purifier in your, at least in your bedroom, in your home, and so while 8 hours a day you're breathing in, it's getting all the bad, especially mold particles out. But my whole point is that the list is a mile long, and it comes from every direction of things that mess with our hormones. And I know we're obviously going to talk about the testosterone thing, but it's probably worse or just as bad from the female side, especially with like things like birth control and things like that. That's completely wrecking havoc.
But that helps out with acne.
Yeah.
How many, I'm telling you, I can't remember, like the amount of girls that were on birth control when I was in high school for acne. And I mean, I was just like, that doesn't sound right. Like,
and not only like you talk about like hormones being disrupted for life, psychologically messing them up, cancer rates being higher. It's insane. Birth control will be one of those things that we look back and go, what were we doing? It'll be like the new smoking one day. So bottom line, it comes from every direction. It's about impossible to do, but there are some things that yes, we can do. We got to do our very best, right? To keep our natural testosterone.
Filtering your water. That'd be like one of the top ones, right?
Yeah. I mean, filtering your water and avoiding toxins just in general, but I absolutely starting with food. Okay. So I'd say the main thing, especially for males our age, especially as we're getting older, the absolute best thing you can do. So everybody thinks testosterone, is produced solely in your testes, right? In your nuts. Testosterone. It's not the case. Okay. It's that paired with your muscle. So muscle mass. You know what has a ton of estrogen receptors on it is adipose tissue, fat cells. So that's why when you have a high adipose fat tissue to low muscle mass, and we know guys like this, right? You can automatically look at them and you know where their testosterone is. Very soy boy looking, soft. Okay. And it's because quite literally they're holding on to estrogen and they're not producing testosterone. So they are quite literally
holding it in their body.
Yeah, they're holding it. Yeah. Producing it. Yeah. Their levels are much higher. So when we flip the script on that and we have a low body fat and a high muscle mass, that just in general, I mean, if I could put one thing on just overall health, but especially for hormone health, that's the best thing that you can do. But it's hard, right? If you don't have a lot of muscle mass and you're not producing testosterone, you don't have energy, you don't want to go work out, and you don't want to eat right, and then it's just like this vicious cycle of then you don't have muscle mass and it starts all over, right?
Yeah.
So it is hard. But that's the unfortunate thing, and it's different for different people, okay, and how they're affected. Like even from just a genetic standpoint, some people run hotter or colder on their testosterone levels based off of just pure genetics, right? And so some people feel amazing at a level of, let's say, like 680. Okay, they feel like that's they feel no deficiencies, no fatigue, no difficulty gaining muscle mass. They have no problem. But if you're used to running 1,000 and all of a sudden you're running 680, you're gonna feel pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the number so much as like kind of where you're coming from or what you're used to. But some people are just genetically, they run a little bit lower, run a little bit higher, and so it's not a one size fits all thing. But we've definitely in the last 3 or 4 generations lowered our normal threshold of what we consider, like when I run a lab right now, I think it's 250 to 950 or something like that is considered normal.
250?
Yeah. Some will say 350, but yeah.
Still 350. Yeah. Golly.
Yeah. Whereas before, if you were running 900, like 3 or 4 generations ago, that was abnormal.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so that's how far we've just keep moving the goalpost, down.
So we need to buy an island.
We need to do something.
Move to an island.
We need to buy large tracts of land and all live together.
And then they still get us with the water.
Yeah, and they literally still get us with the water or whatever the hell they're spraying, in the skies. Like, don't get me started on it. Like, how are you going to avoid what's coming out of airplanes in the sky? And don't tell me it's like conspiracy chemtrails. It's literally been documented. CIA logs and notes that have been released.
And what is the purpose for that?
I mean, it's been documented. They've been doing weather modification. Now, I'm talking not on my expertise right now,
bro. That just came out like 3 days ago. The CIA admitted.
They admitted. That's what I'm saying.
The weather.
I have been called crazy for like looking up and go, oh, there's chemtrails, and I go, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Like, it's literally proven now. Okay, it's proven. Tennessee has passed a law banning it. Georgia, totally fine. It's crazy.
We're close enough. Maybe they don't get close to us. The plane gets into Tennessee when
It's
it
a
keeps
southern
going.
wind
That's
blowing
right,
it all
blowing it away.
The other thing, I mean, Georgia too. They have not been aggressive against going against spraying fruits and vegetables. Like for farmers, they're protecting farmers. They say, but you can spray all the glyphosate you want. It's no problem. There's like a new. It's like it's like glyphosate 2.0. It's called Kimquat or something kind of.
Oh
It sounds like it's inappropriate, but not really. It's something out of China. They manufacture it in China, and it is a felony to use it in China. You will go to prison for a long time in China if you spray it, but they sell it to the United States.
But they sell it to the United States.
Yes.
We are absolutely the world's worst when it comes to food and medicine, and
it's scary.
The worst.
It's scary. Yeah. And I think back to your thing about that, we're very early on in the experiment. We have already seen. I mean, over the last however many, really for the evolution of humans, however long you believe that's been happening, as long as we've been tracking it, life expectancy has gone up, right? And that is advances in surgery and acute medicine, the invention of antibiotics. Like there's a lot of reasons for that. Birth rates.
We
things
have
like
tipped
that.
the top of the bell curve, my friend.
We tipped it, and we are down now, and we're just now in the last 15 years or so on that curve. You're going to see it continue to go down. I mean, think about even since COVID and the turbo cancers and all this kind of stuff. It ain't just from whether you believe it's the vaccine or an engineered virus. It's the system in general.
Yeah.
It's coming at you from every direction at all times.
And I think the two big things I think you've said so far, like that I've been contemplating the most is number one, autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
Like that's a big one. Your immune system is just shutting down. Like it's not able to defend off what it once was, and your hormones, right? Those are two big ones in people that are really upside down in the last 50, 60 years.
And I think it's gotten way worse even since I've been in medicine, in the last decade. It's rampant, and it's something that is about impossible for doctors to even diagnose because these symptoms are so vague. Labs will seem okay. And it's a new phenomenon. Like the invention of rheumatology, and the treatment of autoimmune disease is blown up, and there's a bigger need for these rheumatologists because the increase in autoimmune disease is out of control. Do you think God designed your body to attack itself?
Negative.
Do you think Adam or Eve had autoimmune disease?
Negative.
Yeah. And for a very long time, autoimmune disease has not been a thing. And now it is all of a sudden. Why? It's
and when you think about it, like to your point, RFK is trying to change some of these things, but here's what people don't understand. Big business, when you build the infrastructure, you can't just flip that script. You can't just turn that corner because entire infrastructures have been built around these things. And turn the corner, the money's flowing, man. And when you try to strip it out and turn it, I mean, quite literally, you could shut down the entire economy by simply trying to fix it.
So RFK got into some heat because he came out and he did not do what he said he was going to do about strictly banning glyphosate. Did you hear this?
Yes.
And his reason being is because if we just go from using glyphosate and immediately stop it, we have used it so much and the soil is so dependent on it that if we stopped it, we wouldn't be able to grow anything in America.
Yeah.
If you just cut it cold turkey.
And that's the part I think, and we could talk about, man, I want to open up that Pandora's box, but we could talk about that. We could talk about, everybody tried to jump on Pam Bondi about when she said something about the Epstein list. It was like, if we prosecuted everybody on the Epstein list, like they thought this is what she was saying, right? That, the whole government was shut down if you did that. Yeah. But I don't think that's what she was saying. But the point is the same thing holds true what RFK's saying, right? Like when you've been doing wrong for so long in certain areas and entire infrastructures have been built on wrong, it sounds good to go, we're just going to stop that and we're going to do something different. And it's like, yeah, but you don't know the consequences of that.
The train's already in motion.
That's right. You don't just stop a train. Yeah. You know what happens if you try to put tear the track up?
Yeah.
The train crashes. right? And so it's like you can't be dependent upon people making decisions at a higher level that's just going to stop these things. So when you see this much evil, and I'm going to call it what it is, it's the root of all evil is the love of money, right? The love of mammon.
Yeah.
And we have built a system on the love of mammon. That's our system. You better have a plan.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about, right? And that would be my argument for concierge medicine. Like, you better have a plan. You better go to somebody that is educated enough to, at minimum, start to build you a real plan. You can't do that in 15 minutes, right? You can give them a pill, but you can't, bringing it full circle, but you got to have a plan.
That's why I said to lead this is a sad topic. This is like, it's a sad road that we kind of go down because it's grim, right? And there's some things that you and I sitting here are not going to be able to change. And what's the answer is that we just, as an individual, you do everything you can do, right? And you pass along that knowledge, or you try to help people that are in your life the best you can. And that's kind of what I'm doing, with that move is I wasn't doing a really good job helping those 5,000.
Yeah.
I just got to narrow my window a little bit, right? And so hopefully I can do a great job taking care of 400.
Yeah.
And maybe those can go on and help more people or whatever it is. But, individually as a patient, you got to focus on what you can focus on the day in and day out, right? I need to make a little bit better choices on what I'm eating and avoid the bad stuff at the very minimum. I need to move my body a little bit, right? I need to do these little things right. I need to control what I can control. You're not going to be able to control what's sprayed in the skies or put in your water, to a certain extent. Short of, calling your congressman and, trying to change things. And yes, some people may have the power to do that, but like as an individual, you got to focus on you. And if you make you better, then you can make someone else better and down the line.
So so I want to get back to I want to do this one more time. Like, what are your feelings surrounding, and I know this is very broad, but TRT? Okay. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think a lot of men are taking part in that, or a lot of men are considering that, or a lot of men are going, how can I start to limit how much I'm owned, and without feeling like absolute crap.
Yeah. So I realized I answered like half of your question earlier, and then not the other half.
No, but it was a good part of it to lead up into it.
And so there are some instances where, yes, I think we probably should be on TRT, and it would be helpful. The problem with that is that, and this is what providers, physicians, especially hormone clinics, aren't telling people, is that when you go down that path, you're on that path. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you start injecting exogenous, outside testosterone into your body, you are telling your internal testosterone production, hey, you're done. You don't need this anymore. You just tone it down because we've already got a bunch, right?
Yeah.
So instead of boosting your natural production, you're killing it and you're destroying it. And so when you start on it, very few people come off of it. And so I'm not against starting it. And I start patients on it.
Yeah.
But you got to know the price that you're going to pay when you do that. And hopefully you have tried all the other things before that. And
food, sleep, all trying to get rid of as many toxins as you can.
The adipose tissue to muscle mass ratio, trying to maximize that. Supplements, magnesium, vitamin D, ashwagandha, zinc, iron. All these things, can help boost natural production. Peptides, which is kind of a little bit the Wild West of medicine right now, but that's another thing. And then if you're going to start supplementing, why not start very microdosing, just to kind of give your body a little bit of a little bump, almost a little test, right? And then they go, oh gosh, this actually feels good. And you can almost jumpstart your engine, or cycling on and off, or doing microdosing every other day or 2 or 3 times a week versus doing a weekly. What they used to do is most people, they were giving them every 2 months, like this big old high dose of testosterone. And so, you'd shoot way up. Well, then on day 10 or 11, 12, you'd crash back down. And for the rest of the time, you'd feel like crap, right? And then you'd boost your system up. And so your system's going, oh my God, what's going on? It's thrown in haywire, instead of just kind of pulsing it a little bit and almost getting like this stepwise pattern, and your body going, oh, I like this. This is how it's supposed to be. Okay, now I've lost weight. Now my natural production's up. Now I'm doing these supplements. Now I'm eating right. And so instead of trying a lot of other things, our culture right now is just hey, my testosterone was low on 1 or 2 readings, and I'm going to go get some injections.
Well, and the reality is I'll just say, you know, I think we all have fallen into the immediate results.
Yeah.
Right. We want, and whatever it is, right. I know I've fallen into that in certain areas of my life. Like we have lived in a country where we got Netflix, we can watch a movie whenever we want. We got food delivered to the door. Everything is instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so the idea of having to work towards something that might take me a year to get there is like, you got a pill for this? Like, can I have immediate gratification? And to your point, it's like, you got to know the cost of that. You got to know the cost of immediate gratification.
Yeah. Nothing's
right?
for free.
Nothing's for free.
Yeah.
Right. You pay for everything.
Yeah. And right now, if we injected you with 100 or 200 milligrams of testosterone,
which we might coming up into the Caveman just to get ready. You know what I'm saying?
we need a little boost.
We might all take it.
Might need a little
we got
bump.
some young guys coming and you might need it.
But dude, you'd feel amazing. You'd feel awesome. And you'd go, oh my God, I got to have more.
Friday morning.
I need more.
Yeah.
Right. Your sex drive would be higher. You'd
My
be like
wife would
shredding
be like,
weight.
yeah.
Yeah, you'd be shredding weight. You'd be walking around with a middle schooler trying to adjust your pants all day.
That's how we get to the lingerie and a charcuterie board when we get home every Friday night.
Dude, you build muscle mass, right? But then all of a sudden, it's like you're also got anger issues, or your hair's falling out now, or your testicles are small, or that crash, you missed a dose and now you're paying for it because you feel terrible. You have all the negative side effects of having zero testosterone.
I was in my late 20s in modeling, and I was trying to get ready for a very important shoot. And I had like 3 months to do it. And I got on a pro hormone. Mm-hmm. Right. And I could pick up a weight, and it felt like a 80-pound dumbbell felt like it was 10 pounds. Like I was just an animal. Yeah. I mean, went through it, and then I went, oh, but they told me the post-cycle therapy, I'll be fine, right? Take the post-cycle therapy. And I did. I took the post-cycle therapy, and I'm going to tell you this, like, I know I jacked up my hormones in that moment. It took me a long time to get them back, right? But there's also a mental effect, because now when I go to touch that 80-pound weight, it feels 80 pounds again. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I liked it when it felt 20 pounds. Yeah. Right. And so there was that really difficult season of realizing like that was abnormal to feel that 80-pound weight that light. I also I still to this day have to get it fixed. There's like a fat tissue around my left.
Like a lipoma.
Yeah, like a lipoma. I'll have to get that drained eventually, right? Yeah. I mean, like I haven't went through that process yet, but I have one. Yeah. I have one. It has to get drained out, right? Yeah. And it formed that estrogen buildup behind my left nipple, right? But through that quick immediate gratification to get ready for that shoot, I did it, right? And it took me a year and a half to get my hormones back in balance. I felt it for a long time.
But you see how that feeling when you're on it, it's
bro,
addictive. Right?
Bro, I felt like I could run through a wall. Mm-hmm. Like any guy that got in front of me, I was going to crush you. Like, get out of my way, right? Super addictive.
Yeah.
Philip's laughing at me over here. Like,
Philip keeps flexing behind you.
I mean, like,
what does that mean?
I felt like I could like bring the Hulk on, baby. I could take him in that moment.
But to speak to kind of what you were saying earlier on levels, I was down to 140.
Yeah,
that's wild too, man.
I saw someone that actually would not see me as, that's just low. Like when I was at 220, the doctor I was seeing was saying that was just low normal.
Yeah, and that's wrong.
That's crazy. 140.
At your age too.
I did that. Yeah, and I did that for 6 years.
Yeah. At 140. 140 to 220.
I teetered between 380, and at my lowest was 140.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Before I finally saw someone that would actually go okay, and unfortunately for me, it gone so long that there was. You're at this point.
Yeah.
And that's at that point. Magnesium and vitamin D
ain't doing nothing for you.
Doing nothing for them.
Yeah,
it ain't doing it. And so that's why it's hard, and that's why I say I'm not against it by any means, because there are absolute instances to do it. It goes back to the whole point of the prevention, right? Checking things early, right? If Philip would have gotten in there 10 years before, and we go, something's going on, right? And maybe maybe it's genetic, or maybe there was some sort of underlying, adrenal issue or whatever it is. Not saying that we could have absolutely avoided it, but we could have given it a dang good shot.
Had a better shot than not knowing at all.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's why I go back to it. It's sad. It's sad because, the worst thing would be someone keep telling Philip, "Now you're fine at 100," right? That's a terrible spot to be in. And so I think once again it's different for different people, and it depends on where we're at. But Philip also wasn't 350 pounds and eating trash too, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and I'll say this: Philip also doesn't eat trash now. Like some people start to supplement and they're like, oh, well, that gives me a reason to eat trash.
You know how much Philip would have to be on if he wasn't on his diet and doing the workout he's doing?
Yeah, no telling. No telling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Philip only eats the whole cow daily.
Hey, that goes back to, all those feelings you were saying that when you did that cycle that you were feeling.
Yeah.
I felt all of those things on carnivore. When I was doing carnivore, I
Really?
felt every single one of
Why'd you
those
quit?
It's hard to do.
It's super hard to do.
Hard to do.
That's why I quit. Like
it's hard.
Like you literally have to fast or just eat. I mean, you ask Philip. Are you just you cook what every Sunday and Wednesday? Probably
I cook every day.
every day. Yeah,
That's a lot of time.
but you have to prep your food.
Yes and no. Like, I only really stick to ground beef, and it makes it easier. So I'm just doing one, maybe 2 meals, so I can do a breakfast and a dinner and be done.
Okay, so you eat, but you have to eat at home. You don't eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, going out to eat is non-existent, and
Impossible.
Luckily, with my job, we have access to things where I could cook if I wanted to, but I choose not to.
So I'm saying, like, it's like for a normal person outside of some kind of like that, it's hard.
It is hard.
It's costly.
Yeah.
It's very expensive.
Philip goes to the Costco and buys like entire entire cows at the Costco.
And once again, to do carnivore, you got to do it right. I was sort of doing the cheat code on it. Like I was taking a supplement by Heart and Soil that is it's meat organs, right? So they take beef organs and they dehydrate it, they grind it up, and they put it in a capsule. So you're actually taking like capsules of beef liver and things like that to get the essential vitamins and minerals. But to do a carnivore diet right, you got to eat nose to tail. Well, I ain't eating liver, right? I mean, I don't like it. I mean, it tastes terrible.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not eating beef heart or deer heart, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some stuff. I'm just not doing it.
I'll tell you something Philip told me to do one time, and I thought he was lying. Just being honest. But he was like, when you go to eat your meat first, and then tell me if you're still hungry.
Well,
You're not.
I didn't tell this to everybody.
Well, thank you for just telling me. I appreciate it.
Well, I tell this to everybody.
Oh, you said I do tell this. I thought you said I don't tell this.
No, I do.
Okay.
Everybody would always ask me, like, how much do you eat? And I would explain it's not as much as everybody thinks it is. Everybody gets on this concept of, like, I'm going to have to eat so much. And I explain to people, what's the typical steak size you eat? And I think Caleb was saying, like, a 12-ounce ribeye. And I said,
minimum.
I said, get your 12-ounce ribeye and your potatoes and all the other things that you normally eat completely with your sweet tea or whatever you're drinking. I said, what I want you to do is make that meal, but you can't touch anything, including your drink, until you've finished all of the meat. You eat all the meat, then you may take a bite of something else. I guarantee you may force yourself to a bite of something else just to say, hey, I did it. But you're going to get to that other thing, and you're going to be like, I am stuffed. Like, I don't want to eat. And then give it a week and do the same meal again, but now eat it like you normally do, and you'll be able to clean the whole plate.
Yeah. The other
Yeah, and he was correct. Like, I just ate just the meat, and I was full.
I'll add to that is if 15 to 20 minutes before you're about to eat, just drink 1 glass of water. You won't be as hungry. So the whole point, like what Philip's talking about, is protein is satiating. So it fills you. Protein and dietary fat fuel your cells at a much higher. They're more energy per particle or per calorie or whatever you want to say, compared to carbohydrates and sugar.
Well, and compared to the fact that a lot of the foods that we're eating today are actually telling our body to eat more.
They're
right?
empty, right?
Yeah, they're empty. And
so you eat a bag of potato chips of like highly processed, or like let's say like Cheetos, right? So some sort of like super processed milled grain. Not only like the preservatives and flavorings that are triggering you to be hungrier, but you eat that and your body detects that there's a certain volume of that. But then there's nothing that's fueling you, right?
Yeah.
And so then you go, well, I gotta have more, right? And so it just doesn't fill you up. And so your brain especially, it loves dietary fat.
Yeah.
Loves dietary fat more so than anything.
Yeah.
Your body and your muscles love dietary protein, but your brain, which is using extraordinarily large volume of your energy, is consumed with your brain of the calories that you're eating, the energy that you're eating. Your brain's using a lot of that, and it loves dietary fat. It runs off of dietary fat more than anything else. It loves it. And so high dietary fat, which is the great lie that we were told in the 50s and 60s from that study that I was quoting, the Framingham study. And I think that's what it's called, Framingham study. But anyways.
It's okay. Nobody else will know.
Yeah. Just assume that I'm right. I could tell you all about it, but and how they did that study, but it vilified dietary fat. It vilified red meat. It vilified cholesterol. And it was just this great lie that we were told. And dietary fat we've been eating for a long time.
Yeah.
So
that's wild. All right, let's do some fun stuff now, and I can't think of all of them right now, but one thing I like about you is that
just one.
You're pretty. Yeah, there's not a lot. You're pretty good at not falling into confirmation bias, right? And I appreciate that. I like people that are willing to constantly challenge their biases, right? Mm-hmm. And you kind of talked about it earlier, like you put your body through a lot of different things to find, what worked and what didn't. You also do some things that are outside the box that a lot of people are like, wait, what? Aren't you a doctor? Right. And so one of those is nicotine.
Yeah.
Right. One of those is nicotine.
You've seen me put a couple in there.
Right. Yeah. And so for me, I am a low tolerance to anything foreign guy. Like I can put on the podcast last week, Philip was laughing because I put like an 8 gram? An 8 gram nicotine patch.
Milligram, please.
Yeah, milligram. And I was like, whoa, let's go, baby. I had to take it out. Like I was like, whoa. Right. I mean, like I'm very,
much,
I'm super sensitive to anything like that. But like you play around with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like you've played around with nicotine, and why play around with nicotine?
Yeah, I firmly believe that if I'm ever going to be telling anybody anything, I need to have tried it myself.
Yeah.
I also firmly believe that most of the stuff we're told is not true,
Yeah.
And so I like to test that. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple, people that I've followed either on social media or have just heard about nicotine. It started back during COVID. And so during COVID, I was in residency during COVID. So I was like literally front lines, like going in and seeing these patients and, literally during my intern years when COVID hit.
Your scarlet letter.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. I'm like, maybe wear the different badge.
Sorry, rabbit trail. Sorry.
Yeah. They tried to tattoo a number on my arm. It was weird. I didn't know what that was about.
What was that?
But anyways, so what we noticed in COVID, I noticed, and others.
By the way, I've never asked you about this. I'm actually genuinely interested in your.
This is crazy. This is crazy. The people that were dying from COVID were people with COPD, so chronic lung disease,
okay.
Obstructive lung disease, from smoking is what that's from. Sometimes you can get it from other sort of like.
That's the most common thing.
Different things, but yeah, smokers, long-term smokers, damage done to the lungs. They were all COPDers that were former smokers that were dying. Now there were a couple that were, currently smoking,
yeah.
but overwhelming majority were former smokers that were dying, but they all had COPD. There was a low rate of current smokers with COPD. Okay. And I thought that was bizarre, and I go, why in the world would that be? You know, I didn't really put too much together. The thought process is that nicotine is and I'm going to preface what I'm about to say. Not medical advice. I cannot back this up. Like, they will never pay for a study to do this.
No,
even if they did, there's a 90% chance it would be false. So I can't back this up from, like, you know, there's medical literature out there studying the effects of nicotine, and it's some pretty cool stuff, but I'm not going to try to back this up. So this is me experimenting.
But you still saw these two things happening.
I saw that
and
happen.
There's something there.
Something there.
Because the polls were large enough to draw some type of a conclusion.
Some sort of conclusion. Something's going on.
Yeah.
And so what they looked at was basically how viruses, most viruses, especially the COVID virus, attacks you on a cellular level, is that it attaches to the nicotinic receptor on your cell, which nicotine, natural product, for, you know, an ingredient from the earth. Okay,
I think that we probably should have started there. What is nicotine?
Yeah. So it's in a lot of different things. So tobacco, obviously being the plant that it's in the heaviest, but it's in potatoes. It's in other vegetables, right? At a lower rate.
Crazy feeling from potato.
Yeah, you never felt buzzed.
Put that potato down on my lip next to
those Irish, man. They're like they're buzzed all the time, man. They're crazy. So, but no, potatoes got it at a much lower rate, but it's still
there.
a natural ingredient in foods from the earth. And so, yes, nicotine is in tobacco at a much higher rate, but the thought is, you know, when you look on the carton or whatever, it'll say nicotine, highly addictive, right?
Yeah.
Is it the nicotine that's addictive, or is it the other 100 additives and ingredients that they add to the tobacco in a cigarette?
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea is that the virus comes and attacks your on a cellular level on the nicotinic receptors. If you are using some sort of high dose nicotine product, your nicotinic receptors are already flooded with nicotine. The nicotine's already attached. There's nothing to attach to. So the virus comes in and goes,
where do I go?
Where do I go? There's nothing to attach to. It moves along. And so I was curious about it from that standpoint, about a viral standpoint. And so that's why I think it was maybe a year ago, like during flu season, I said, I'll just try this out. Now, I think the studies the guy was doing, he was doing more of the patch, but that's way less cool than, you know, putting something.
Man, I've got nothing in my lip with a patch.
Went back to like my days of high
You're
school.
still a little less cool because you got the like mint version.
Yeah.
Last week I had I felt like a man with it in my lip.
But that's my problem, is that it has this other stuff in it, like the one that I was trying with the sucralose in it. Tucker Carlson, man, I'm disappointed.
Big liar. And
so these are just xylitol, very clean ingredients. But yeah, they're more of like a lozenge or a mint that dissolves. And so
that's cool though.
But the idea is, it floods it. The virus can attack. And so I just tried it out. And so I'll be honest, like I think, you know, that flu season, I think I still got sick one time.
Yeah.
Now, in my line of work, I am exposed to 30-something sick individuals every single day.
Yeah.
And so to get sick one time, is that evidence that it helped? I don't know. You know, I really don't know. There's other studies, other claims, I guess I should say, in smaller studies that talk about other benefits of nicotine from a cognitive standpoint. Like you get like almost like this boost, like a mental clarity and sharpness.
I'm going to tell you, I was very clear last week.
Yeah.
I also had very high energy.
Right?
Yep. So here's something I would say about it. Just like we a lot of people might try to demonize nicotine, but let's talk about energy drinks.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like they're loaded in every gas station. Kids are on them by the wazoo. Mm-hmm. I, for one, used to be a huge, I've had to really taper off. Like I'm down to like 2 or 3 a week.
Yeah.
Dude, I used to consume
And they're terrible for you.
15 a week.
Here's it.
Like just hammering energy drink. And I justify it by like, well, these are the healthier ones.
Right. So here's a story for you is, a few different times every few years I volunteer at Young Life Camp over in Jasper at Sharp Top Cove, and I'm their physician for a week. So they have like adult guests that come, and one of them's always a doctor, so that you get to stay for free. Your family comes for free. You just are doctoring the 500 or 600 kids that are there.
So it's not free.
High school kids. No, it's not. You're working. Yeah, but it's easy work. It's a lot of fun. And so this was 3 years ago. I was there, and I'd done it several times before that. It's very easy, very low key. Like you're basically just, you might hand out a couple of medicines, a couple of little bumps and bruises, that kind of stuff. No major issues. Like you're not sending kids to the hospital, right?
Yeah.
I got there in the middle of that summer, and they go, hey, just so you know, for whatever reason this year, we've sent a lot of kids to the hospital. Like we've had to call the ambulance up here. We've had a high rate of panic attacks this year. And I was like, well, that's bizarre. These kids are here. Like it's advertised as the best week of your life. And it really is. It's not a camp. It's a resort for kids.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Can't shout out that enough. I mean, it's really a wonderful, wonderful week for those kids from a spiritual level, but just amazing. Best week of their life. And we're sending kids to the hospital with panic attacks. I said, this is bizarre. Well, it's like day 2 or 3 that I'm there, and I'm in the game room, which is also the snack bar area. And I'm looking around, and there's empty Celsius cans everywhere. And I go, who brought a bunch of Celsius? Well, they're selling it in the camp store, like the snack bar. And they said it was the hottest item because, back when Celsius had just come out, it was big, healthy.
Why not? Give me a kick to get going.
And everybody else is drinking them. And so what was happening are these kids that have never been exposed to energy drinks, or maybe very rarely, they were coming and they were having multiple of these Celsius.
Yeah.
And they were going home in an ambulance from a panic attack, like thinking that they were having a heart attack at 16 or 15 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So they took it off the rest of the summer. No panic attacks.
Wow.
Crazy.
So I'm trying to think of what the chemical was, but back when I was in high school, there was something out, and they banned it because a bunch of baseball players drank like 4 of them, and 2 of them died in the major leagues. Ephedra. Ephedrine.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always wondered with ephedrine, like, was it as bad as they made it out to be, or was it abused? And, and it's like, because when I think back to ephedrine, like, again, we're talking about a lot of this stuff is in its purest form. These things, it was plant-based, and then when it was in its purest form, it's like, was it that bad, or did just 3 idiots drink 5 of them on a hot day and kill themselves, right? It's like their heart exploded because you're not, right? But now we have we take it off market, and we take low dosages of all types of crap and energy drinks, and we're like, here, but this is acceptable.
Yeah.
Right? Drink all these monsters.
And it's just the combination of that, all the stuff that's in there. Yeah. And most of the monsters are artificial sweeteners in there too.
Yeah.
And a bunch of bad stuff.
What do you think that's going to do? Like, what do you think that's going to do to people's bodies downstream? Like all these energy drinks that they're consuming.
Yeah. It's wrecking your sympathetic nervous system, if nothing else. Your fight or flight system, your sympathetic nervous system. When you are just telling, hey, you're ramped up on high, go, 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 go. You don't have the ebb and flow, right? You don't have the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, right? And then you got to have a balance of both those things. And so when you're telling people to be on all the time, you can't be in the rest and digest mode. You're in the fight or flight all the time. And so it just wrecking havoc. It messes with the rhythm of the body.
What would you say? Coffee.
I was just about to bring this example up. That can be abused too, right? So there's
cut. We're leaving. That's it.
And I love coffee. You know me. Literally, that's what my beverage was just now, was the iced coffee to keep me up till whatever time it is.
But it's way more pure than a energy drink.
Way more natural, yes.
Yeah, way more natural. Yeah.
But Starbucks had it's a
That's
nitro
not coffee.
cold brew.
That's not real coffee.
It's not. And I will plug this. Starbucks is an adult candy store, and
Yes.
99% of the stuff that's there is
Thank you. I tell my wife,
garbage.
I'm like, you don't drink coffee, baby. You drink coffee in your creamer.
But the coffee. I mean, they serve burnt coffee. You know, that's not really
terrible.
good anyways.
It's awful.
They do that on purpose so everything tastes the same, but that's a different story. It's the stuff that gets added to it that's the main problem. But they had a nitro cold brew that was pretty. You could get it just pure coffee.
It was delicious too.
It was delicious. Wasn't it?
I remember that one.
I would ask
It's
for
like a coconut,
little splash of sweet cream or something.
Yes, sweet cream.
So good.
Not coconut, yeah.
So good. Most Starbucks won't sell that anymore. And if they do sell it, they only sell it in the smallest size because it was sending people to the hospital with heart palpitations and heart attacks because it was so much caffeine in such a short little spurt that it was killing people.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were like liable basically.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, my whole point is too much of a good thing can be a problem. Like, this nicotine, I'm probably doing too much because now I'm just like the habit of just, putting in my mouth. Like what started out as a good experiment, I'm probably doing too much, right? And so everything in moderation, including moderation, you have to let the ebb and flow go. And you have to, once again, you have to do what you can do. You have to do the basics as right as you can, small little changes, day in and day out.
Yeah.
Avoid as much of the bad stuff as you can. Try to be healthy, but in the same way, you can do too much of a good stuff. I have patients all the time. They go, "Oh yeah, I went to the supplement shop and they started me on 15 supplements." Well, what made you feel better? What made you feel worse? I don't know. I can't help you. Like I have no idea, right?
Sure.
And so it gets kind of convoluted. So back to the basics. Let's eat a diet that our great-grandparents would have eaten. They would have grown a garden in the backyard. They would have had some chickens that were free range. They would have shared a cow with a neighborhood. They would have bartered and shared. One of them would have been a baker. One of them would have had the eggs, or and then one of them had more squash and more zucchini or whatever. And they would have traded, right? And they would have.
What would What would your body feel like if you committed to that for a year?
You wouldn't recognize yourself.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the same way.
You wouldn't recognize how you feel. You wouldn't recognize your body. You wouldn't recognize your face. You wouldn't recognize your mind and how clear your thoughts are. You wouldn't recognize the effect that you'd have on others. I mean, dude, it would be unbelievable.
Your emotions, your mental clarity,
name it.
Yeah.
Name it.
Yeah. All right, let's go to another one that men struggle with. I know we're wrapping up the night here, so it's getting late, but and I know you two are kind of like me. You'd sit in here all night, but
you know me, I could talk for
I know.
days. Yeah.
Pain. People dealing with pain. This is a big one in men, right? It's like pain, and I'm gonna start with something way down the line, right? Because I've actually thought about this. I've been from my football career and just MMA, all those things. Like now I'm hitting 40. The abuse I put my body through in the earlier days, and now I'm starting to feel some of that. And I'm not there, but I have I think the abuse around not marijuana, but what's the gummies and those kind of things that
like
people
THC and stuff.
Yeah, THC gummies. I think everybody's like, oh, I can't believe you did, but I'm like, but THC gummies. Let's go back to the plant-based stuff versus oxycodone, or right or that type of stuff. I'm tracking with what you're putting down, so correct me if I'm wrong, but what I keep hearing is the more pure, the more plant-based, the more things that God might have put in the world, better than the medicine form, better than the things that weren't intended to go into the body. Man-made, right?
God-made versus man-made.
God-made, right? Yeah, exactly. So let's in terms of pain, what would be layers of dealing with pain in your body? And I know that's a big one, and we've talked about a lot of them. Nutrition, I mean, inflammation, right? You've already kind of touched on a lot of that, but let's take somebody that's on a level right now out there. He's on an 8 out of 10, and he's like, man, you don't understand. I don't even sleep at night. My pain is maxed out. What do I do?
Yeah. This is, I think, around the time that your dad got his diagnosis.
Yeah.
He asked me a question, and he said, what's the purpose of pain? Why did God invent pain?
Leave it to him to ask that kind of question in the middle of something like that.
Damn it, David, I don't know.
I'm a doctor.
Yeah. It's a simple question, right?
Yeah.
And I sat there, I was like, I don't know. And to still answer that question, I don't know. I mean, you could make the argument of the good is only as good as the bad is bad, you know, but some people that, you know, don't deserve pain, you know, are in pain. Why? I don't have a great answer for that. What I do know is that there is, to a degree, when damage has been done, there's damage done.
Yeah.
There's chronic damage of chronic abuse that we've put on our bodies, and like osteoarthritis, wear and tear arthritis is an issue. I mean, it's you're gonna have to some degree. Everyone will have to some degree osteoarthritis, and what joints that comes in. You know, whatever joint is taking the most damage. You know, there is an element of chronic of inflammation, and yes, you can fix that, and so you can mitigate that to a large degree. You know, by changing everything that we talked about, you can change that. But that's some of the cool things. That's why I'm not against. You know, some people. They come to me and they go, "Hey, I heard you're like the anti-medicine doctor, and you take people off of medicines." And I'm like, whoa.
Some of that could be my fault. Maybe the way I sell you from time to time.
Are you friends with Caleb Callahan? But I tell people, I'm not anti-medicine. I'm anti-inappropriate medicines.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-surgery. Like, I mean, that's some of the really cool stuff that we do in Western medicine is surgical procedures, and sometimes medicines are needed, right? I mean, and sometimes they're necessary. They're a necessary evil. And so sometimes, like, if you blow your knee out and you know, at a young age, and now you're walking around with a bad knee, and it's taking more wear and tear, and you get to your 50s or 60s, and you're eaten up with arthritis in that knee, dude, getting a total knee is a life-changing procedure for people. Man. It's unbelievable, right? So we do some really amazing things on the surgical side or the acute emergency side of medicine. We in America and Western medicine, we do a great job of that. We do a terrible job of the chronic disease management, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes going to those options are okay. I mean, I prescribe, you know, pain medicines to people all the time. I wish I didn't. I wish I, you know, had a better option. But I do lean towards a more natural approach, you know, that root cause stuff that we've always talked about.
Yeah. Now
to your question on like marijuana or not, like, yes.
If I'm Joe Rogan sitting across from you right now and I'm going, tell me what you think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's hard to say. God made marijuana. God made a bunch of poisons and toxins too that we shouldn't eat. You
don't wipe your butt with poison ivy either, right?
Right. Yeah. God made poison ivy as well, right?
That's right.
And so you could make that argument. What class, what side do you put marijuana in, right?
Yeah.
And
he made the fermentation of fruits too, which turns into alcohol, which he says don't overconsume.
Exactly. And so maybe that is the answer, right? With THC. I know I see the bad effects of people that, you know, you label as a pothead or something that are doing these daily marijuana and abusing it when and that's poor outcomes, right? So I'm very much against that. But also THC and things like Parkinson's, right? Or you know, bad tremors, like they can cure these really aggressive and progressive diseases. They can make the symptom burden much less. Go for it. I love it. And if pain is one of those, then yes, I'd be okay with that.
I'm gonna tell you what, I totally broke the law of God the night that I flipped my rhino and my left leg was sitting out the side of it and slid down the gravel with my leg out, and Matt and Daniel flip it off of me. I come in and I'm like, and Daniel gives me the vodka bottle and I consumed a fourth of it in about 30 seconds. I felt better. I felt better pretty quick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know?
But if you did that every night.
Yeah, I'd be in trouble.
You're in trouble.
I'd be in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. So everything in moderation again, you know, I think that's probably where I would stand on it, you know, and obviously a case by case basis, but So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. The whole point is doing this stuff now, I guess,
Yeah.
and not letting the chronic or the acute inflammation turn to chronic inflammation, not letting a cheat meal turn into a cheat day, turn into a cheat month, turn into a cheat life, right? And the same thing with any sort of disease or in your life, right? A disease of your mind or whatever. Name the sin, right? Doing more of it's never the answer. But I do think from a medicinal standpoint, there are things that God has given us that I think we can use to our advantage, but that we could also abuse.
So maybe the last one we touch on tonight, because I think it's another big one for me, and I think we've already covered a lot. Like you said, a lot of these things, it's the same diagnosis and the same solutions. You just got to do it, right?
Yeah.
Sex drive. A lot of men, right? It's like, my sex drive is down. And when your sex drive's down, it's going to affect your marriage, right? Or maybe another one is, my wife's sex drive's down, right? And these things are hormonal imbalances in the system. I know you're big about that. So hey, if anything, you just want you and your wife's sex drive up, go see Dusty. But is there anything surrounding sex drive that you would be like, hey, these are some things that you need to start thinking about, or maybe some things, again, you've been talking about this kind of, I'm seeing this kind of picture of things to remove, things to put in, right? Like in terms of your sex drive.
Yeah. A lot of times sex drive issue is actually a timing issue over the course of your life, actually. So and the peak of women's sex drive tends to be a little bit later in life. A lot of times when women they might have a little bit of a
God
sex
had
drive.
a sense of humor in that, didn't he?
It did, yeah. The timing's off, so they have it a little bit early on, But when you're a young female and you have kids, right? Is your focus? Would you want your wife's focus to be on your sex drive or her sex drive or your kids, right? You're going to choose your kids every time, and God designed it that way. That mothers are mothers first, right? And I think that's a great thing. But
great argument for TRT coming up.
So then they get the kids out of the house, hormones, maybe they go through menopause or whatever, hormones get balanced. And it's always, you hear about these, later on in life, the cougars, the sex drive's higher. Right. But that's also when the males is falling down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I think in a perfect world and what should happen is that like a male sex drive should be there forever would be my argument. Right. I mean, you hear about, these guys that, 90 years old and still going at it, right?
Yeah. In the nursing home, still strutting down the, say, hey, baby.
Very high STD rate in nursing homes, by the way. It's crazy. Very, very, it's wild statistic.
Wow.
So I think a lot of it's a timing issue, but I think that's a failure on more so the men's part if it's fallen off early. And so everything we talked about, same thing.
Nutrition, sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep your testosterone at a good level. The one thing I'd add to that when it comes to sex drive and especially intimacy is the killer is your mind. And 90% of the time when it comes to erectile dysfunction, it's in your mind.
Pornography. Feeding your mind with pornography.
It's pornography. It's other things too. I mean, it's relationship aspects. It's especially in a male, if there's an episode of not performing very well, that's what you're thinking about the next time. Depression, anxiety, stress. I mean, all these things. Especially when it comes to sex, in a male, it's a very interesting phenomenon. You have to have, we talked about sympathetic and parasympathetic earlier. Sympathetic being fight, flight, and the other F word, and rest and digest. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, you have to have a balance of both of those as a male. Okay. So during sex, you have to have your sympathetic system, your fight or flight or F, is responsible for the shooting aspect. Okay, so ejaculation. The parasympathetic rest and digest is responsible for point. So parasympathetic P, point, sympathetic S, shoot. Okay, to perform as a male, you've got to have the point and the shoot. You've got to have this sympathetic balance. Okay.
It's crazy. Okay.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in a total rest and digest, like, you just ate Thanksgiving dinner, you're not wanting to think about that, right?
Yeah.
If you're super stressed at work, you're on a bunch of energy drinks and you have this high sympathetic, or you're on Adderall, you could actually achieve the shoot without the point, to a certain degree. But to sexually perform, you got to have both. So to be in a state physically, mentally, that you're in parasympathetic and sympathetic and parasympathetic in a perfect balance is actually a hard state to be in, right?
Yeah.
And so getting that timing down is bizarre. But yes, absolutely, back to your point.
Throw a bunch of kids in the mix, and it's like, even when the timing's perfect, it might not be the timing.
Can't do it, right? Yeah. And so it makes it very hard from a logistical standpoint.
Yeah.
And from a health standpoint. But absolutely, your point of the pornography and the expectations, and really what that trains your body to do. The pornography, it trains your body to go through the point and the shoot in a very fast fashion. And that's not how it was designed. And so even from an anatomical blood flow, that's not how you were anatomically designed.
There's no build up. You click it on and it's there.
Boom, 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 you're done.
And it's not real. There's no touch. There's no intimacy.
Yes.
It's all with a computer.
Even from an anatomical standpoint, the whole point of the point is that the blood goes into that area and stays, right? The valve keeps it kind of closed, and you've got blood flow, but not as much blood return. That's how we achieve that, right? And so if you are training your body to quickly get to that point and then have a lot of pressure and, movement down there in a very rapid fashion, be done, and you're now release it very quickly, you're now training your body to achieve erection and lose an erection very quickly.
Well, if you think about it too, pornography is incredibly selfish. It's self-gratifying.
Yeah.
Right. And good sex is mutually gratifying. Right. And so in pornography, you're training your body to be self-gratified. And then when it goes to sex, your body's been trained to be self-gratified. So you're not thinking about mutually gratification. So you have no stamina because you've already trained yourself to be self-gratified.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
over. That's what's wild.
When we say stamina, I mean, stamina people think, it's stamina from a health, cardiovascular standpoint. Stamina from just being able to achieve that for a long time. You've now been training your body to not do that.
Yeah, and
your mind to not do that.
Your mind to not do that, yeah. And to your point, it's a lot of people get in the physical, but it's probably more mental than it is physical.
Yeah.
Right?
There's an argument. There's a spiritual component to that,
Yeah,
right?
amen.
Between a man and a woman, right? So, and you've lost that with obviously pornography and self gratification. So
what do you do? What do you do? What do you do if you number one you stop again, remove something?
It's more about what you remove.
It's all about what you remove, and then you have to start retraining the body. I would argue it'd be hard to do without a spiritual component. To retrain the body and mend the relationship. In those areas, to be able to start having intimacy again, and to be able to rebuild that up with your wife.
Yeah, and that's kind of that point where I sometimes become a marriage counselor, very quickly, and it's hard. I had a guy who's he was a music producer that I knew, but awesome guy, very spiritual. And he would talk about how him and his wife, and I may have told you this before, him and his wife during sex would pray. And I would go, yeah, I'm good. God is not here. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not. God is not here today. But the question, it begs the question is, how much of a spiritual component should that?
Yeah,
should that?
I don't know that I'm there either. I don't know how I can do.
It was a foreign concept then, and it's maybe less foreign now. But I mean, I could sort of understand where he's coming from. But whether it's during that or maybe around that, right?
I feel like if Jesus was there, I would not stay where I need to be in that moment.
I always laugh about that. I'm like, not there.
It's not for everybody. Oh, they had to be charismatic in their belief system.
Very peculiar. But the point is that if there's not that component and you're not there on a relationship level,
oh, no doubt.
How can you expect there to be on on a physical level?
No doubt, man. I've oftentimes so like, sorry, honey, but I don't care. Like this is good. So like I'm not like me and my wife. If we're in a fight, like I've heard people say, fight naked, right? Or they're like, hey, if you're in a fight, just have sex. I can't do it.
Yeah,
I can't do it. Like I'm not the guy that can just go resolve it with sex. Like if it's not intimate.
Yeah.
If I'm not feeling it, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that either. I mean, I don't like that.
I can't. Like I can't. Like me and my wife, like we've tried it, and I'm just I can't do it. Like
okay, that might work for some people.
Yeah, it might, but it don't work for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm like because if it's not, I am a build up guy. Like I would rather lay there with my wife and have that intimate moment before we run into it. Like I'm not very good at quick sex. Like I'm not a quick sex guy.
Yeah.
And so like that's not been something. And I think men in general, I mean, part of having a great sex life again is like in anything, serving the other person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
How can you have, physical love if you're not expressing spiritual and mental love in other departments,
Yeah.
And that's always,
Yeah.
you want to talk about like just me personally, like when me and my wife are less physical, it's because there's other issues going on, right? So I mean, if you're not fixing the other stuff first, then how can you expect everything to be fine
Absolutely,
in the bedroom?
man. Yeah, and in my life, when I think about the least amount of sex me and my wife have, it's because we got other issues we're fighting about.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times I could see how men might come into a counseling session and be like, well, we don't have sex anymore, and it's like, but why? Back to the why, right?
What's the root cause?
What's the root cause of that? What's the diagnosis of that?
Yeah,
right?
it's hard.
So again, don't take a pill. Go.
The pills work. I mean,
The pills, boy, do they!
Yeah.
We have a story about that.
Yeah, it's like I mean they work. I mean, and that's once again that's an addictive feeling, right?
Dude. So no, it's not. It's not. It can be, but it can't be. So funny story. I'll look at the camera for this one. So I had got information from someone out in California that like pre-workout was there was, and I think it's still true. I think the information was correct, but that Cialis had something about it that really helped blood flow.
Yeah,
right. And he was taking it as like a pre-workout. He was taking it on the daily for like pre-workout, and his workouts were great. And I was like, well, I'll try that. I'll try half of that, see what happens. It might have helped with the workout, but my gosh, you can't move, can't go nowhere. Like, how you gonna work out? What you gonna wear?
Yeah,
I was like, quit that.
Just a middle schooler.
Just a middle schooler running around.
Adjusting your belt line.
I was like, yep. I was like, I ain't going to the gym today, so I had to do.
Yeah. So, so those pills, sildenafil and tadalafil, Viagra and Cialis, they were actually invented to be blood pressure medicines first, and because they're vasodilators.
Yeah.
They dilate and expand the blood vessels, right? And so that was the idea of in your cardiovascular system. If you expand the vessels, there's less pressure, right, in that, and so it will reduce your blood pressure.
I had way more pressure.
Yeah. Well, they found that it specifically dilated different vessels, and they got very enlarged, and that it worked for that. And so they go, oh my gosh, now we have a really cool
moneymaker,
product.
baby. Here we go.
Very good
All
product.
the men will buy this.
Yeah. But no, that was the thought, is because they dilate the blood vessels, increase blood flow, that they would bring more blood flow is more good stuff, to recover and to treat whatever's going on, but muscle recovery is kind of the idea. And yeah, absolutely. There are some people
when
that do
blood's
that.
flowing, your muscles recover faster.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the whole point. When you're doing a workout, you're building up the acid, in your muscles, and because the flow is not pulling away the bad stuff and bringing the good stuff, that's why you get muscle fatigue, and that's why you don't have good recovery. And so that was the idea behind that. And yes, it very well may work. I mean, I don't know if that works for I'm not the workout guru. That's one thing I've not tested on myself. But I mainly haven't tested that on myself because I just don't work out very much. So that's why that's why here today we've not talked about exercise, because I'm not the guy, right? I eat well enough that I don't have to work out. And that's
but you're an active person.
Yeah. That would be my one plug I'd say about about exercise is that
you're big on stretching and activity. I mean, and it's helped me out a lot. The stretching component we haven't talked about.
Yes.
I think a lot of people their flexibility starts to diminish as they get older. I mean, my dad couldn't touch his kneecaps probably.
So there's a sedentary lifestyle that's people that go sit at a desk job, they get home from their job, they sit on the recliner and they watch TV, then they go to bed, right? They're still their entire life. The next area I would say would be an active lifestyle. That's probably someone who's, maybe like you're going to different jobs, or even if you're at your job, you're walking around on the,
when I talk, I'm always walking.
You're
I don't ever sit down and talk.
And then you go home and you probably, maybe people go walk their dog, or they go walk with their wife, or they're playing with their kids, or whatever it is. They're kind of just moving, right? I'll jump to the fourth, kind of the most extreme would be like someone who's active in a CrossFit gym, or they're like a marathon runner, or like Philip, literally, waking up at 3 a.m. and lifting weights, lifting heavy things and setting them back down. Very active. The sweet spot for me is in between there. It's living that active lifestyle, having movement throughout the day. And then it's doing very hard, very high intensity movements for short periods of time. And that's the sweet spot, because that's the biggest bang for your buck. Yeah. Yes, you might be healthier if you're doing CrossFit athlete or whatever, but someone who's like a working age male, not going to have time to do all that. Maybe you don't have time to wake up at 3 a.m. and work out or whatever. So
like finding
15 to 30 minutes a day to name the activity. Don't care what it is. Do something.
Cornhole.
No.
Oh, not that one. Sorry.
You could make cornhole do that. I guess if you're like running back and
forth. You could throw it and run and then throw it back to the other one.
Yeah. And so sure, do that, right? If it's walking up and down a flight of steps for 15 minutes in a row, if it's going kayaking or rock climbing, or if it's doing sprints, or if it's doing push-ups, or if it's playing pickup basketball, whatever it is, if you're doing something for 15 to 30 minutes a day that is making you break a sweat, making your heart rate go up, and making your muscles sore at the end of it, that's all you need. You don't need to be the ultra athlete. You don't need to have a gym membership or pay for a bunch of gym equipment. Yes, that's still better and great. Yes, you can do all those things. But the sweet spot for most, the average person is finding that 15 to 30 minutes.
Well, I think it's important what you're saying, because most men, we think in we think in extremes. It's like, so if I can't do this, I might as well just sit on the couch. Yeah. Right? Like we don't go, oh no, let's find somewhere in the middle and at least do that. Right? At least do that.
The small things every day over time.
All right. So, number one, what's the last thing you want to say? Number two, where can people find you?
Yeah. So my practice, I'm starting in Chattanooga, with Nate, it's Dr. Hartgrove, Dr. Crump. It's our concierge medicine practice. So online it's johnstonmedical.com. It's got the email, phone number. I'd love to have people that agree with what I'm saying, right? I mean, I want, sounds crazy. I want patients that want to be healthy. And that is something that I would have never thought I would have had to say, right? You would think that would be a universal thing, and it's not. And that's the patient I want. And let's figure it out. Let's take the time, meet you where you're at, and make you better. So that's the website, johnstonmedical.com. And, I'm taking 400 patients, so you're one of 400. So
you can also reach out to me. If you reach out to me, I'll hook you up with Dusty as well. But I'm excited to. I'm going to start shooting some content with him. I'm going to actually go on the journey. I would like to say, I've been telling my wife, I was like, once I'm going on the journey with you, like getting my blood work done, those kind of things, I want to document this stuff. And I feel even worse about it because I actually have the facility to do the things you ought to do. I don't quite do them yet.
Yeah. Well, it's hard, right?
It's hard.
Life happens.
Yeah, life happens, man. These days, I got a 6 and a 4 and a 2-year-old. And that's life.
And that's kind of the point, I think, is that you let life happen, and maybe you make excuses, or you're like, for you, your focus is on your family, your focus is on your businesses, right? And then a lot of people see taking care of themselves, especially like when they're a little bit older, or they have a spouse that has needs medically, right, or is sick. They think taking care of themselves, they see it as a selfish thing. And my argument is that's the least selfish thing you can do, is take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And that's physically, mentally, spiritually. I mean, you name it, right?
Amen. So. And for me, death is not the issue. I think a lot of Bible-believing Christians out there are like, well, I'm going to die and I'm going to go to heaven. I'm like, yeah, it's not about death for me. It's about being able to live healthy while alive. Like, I don't want to be in a chair the last 5 years of my life. Like, I don't want that. I got a 91-year-old grandma, man. Dude, she's still chugging at 91. Like, she's still going to basketball games and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't want to live to 91. I was like, but if I had to, that's where I want to be.
Yeah. So the focus should be on health span, not lifespan.
Amen. I like that. Yeah. That's a good last word for people.
Do it.
So if you guys are looking for Dusty, that's where you can find him on the line. On the line. I just pulled a Vince Vaughn. On the line. Yeah, on the line.
Do it.
That's where you can find him online. If not, reach out to me. I'll hook you up with him. I think it will be a radical choice. I think that could change your life forever. So I've enjoyed the talk. I'm sure we'll have plenty more.
Dude,
we can go down rabbit holes. Yeah, we're gonna go down more rabbit holes in the future over the system. Right? We didn't really talk about the system a lot. We talked a little bit about it, but I think there's a lot more fun things to talk about that. But we'll see you next time here at the Caveman. See ya.
Yep.
That was good, man.
Cool.